Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 86th livestream from the Misfit Gamer Studios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's deeper discussions, we are going to attempt, on part 3, to finish the Psionics Handbook. The second edition Psionics Handbook, we have been going over this for the last 2 weeks. This is going to be part 3. We are going to hopefully be able to finish off all of the divinations, their sciences, and their devotions. We are starting with chapter 4. If you haven't seen any of the previous videos yet, then you may be a little bit lost if you're not really familiar with second edition Psionicists, but I hope you enjoy the ride. If you have been keeping up, then hopefully you are excited as we are to kind of discuss a lot of these, but keep in mind we are going to be going pretty fast today. We're not going to skip over anything, but we have a lot of stuff to get through, and it's not as meaty, but we are going to try to summarize and get through some of the powers that are a little bit more self-explanatory, so we can kind of allow ourselves to discuss some of the more intricate powers. Outside of that, if you are interested, if you're watching this on YouTube in the future and this is the first video you've seen, we have 2 videos before this, hopefully, and we might have a video after that, who knows, but go ahead and check out our VOD channel or our YouTube channel for any of the previous streams for this one. But other than that, we have no other updates, so we are going to get started. Let me get Kage in here. What is up, my friend?
Shalom, shalom, my friends. Happy to be here again.
I see Cosmic in the chat already.
Yes,
hello,
indeed.
Hello.
Yeah, another stretch on the Psionics. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a very steady pace, and I am very excited to see what these powers can do, because I've been already starting to brew the type of character that I'm thinking about building for this. Mm-hmm. It's still hard because it's so easy to go either route when it comes to being more physical or being more role play heavy in your character build. So maybe a little mix of both, maybe a little bit more one than the other, but we'll see what happens.
I would say that's probably the number one issue with Psionisist, especially with the way the second edition has done them, is with modern gameplay, it would really come down to the DM on how you can really build this out, because you could be a really great supportive character, you could be a great primary character, this could be a great one-on-one kind of gaming session if you guys do that kind of thing, but realistically it has the potential for that role play aspect, which this has a lot of, really is going to depend on the DM on how much of that is accessible, right? Like how much of that role play actually matters, how much are they willing to get into it, and how much are they willing to let you stretch, and not even stretch, but stretch the power, as in how far are they allowing, let you use it in role play versus them just saying, hey, I need to push the narrative, so let's drop that. Because not that that's a bad way to do it, but we've talked about that before, where sometimes the narrative needs to move on, and it's like, I'm not saying that you guys wouldn't have more questions, I'm not saying that you guys wouldn't want to do this, I'm not saying that you guys aren't suspect of him and wouldn't follow him down this strange hallway, but guess what, the narrative needs to happen and it's on the other side of this hallway, so guess what, very suspiciously, and guess what? Or what's the word? Doing something when you don't want to do it, like begrudgingly. It's like very begrudgingly, you all creep behind him down the hallway. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of that whole thing where it's like, I get it, guys. It's slightly out of your character, and it's not what you as the player wants to do. But understand, like, how many... I mean, I like to think of it sometimes as how many times you've been watching a show or a movie, and it's that cliche moment where you want to yell at the character of, like, what are you doing? Don't be that dumb. And it's like... This is that moment. That moment right there when you're like, I wouldn't do that. Be like, exactly. This is that moment when you were watching that movie and you were like, don't open the closet. Don't go in there. Why are you following the sound? And it's like, because guess what? Sometimes the player has to be told, sit down, the narration's going.
Listen, this is when you're making the movie boring. Right? Because they put it this way in the movie, so it would be something you'd actually want to watch. If we made all the decisions you thought we should make, this would be a really
how many movies would be over in the first 30 seconds? It'd be like, if the right decision was made.
Well, I guess we're going home now. And I'm like, so either you want to go home or you want to keep playing. So.
There's actually a really good YouTube channel that used to do that, where it was like they would actually like do the whole setup. It was like very short, like 5-minute ones, but it was like, how to solve this movie in the first 5 minutes, and they would like do cuts of the whole movie. So they would actually use scenes of the movie. So they do the intro, and then they do different cuts to show a different outcome, and then it's like, yep, movie's over. Like, if X didn't happen, then Y didn't happen. Therefore, Z doesn't happen. It was just like that's.
I think they did that with the Lord of the Rings, and it was just like, well, it's in the whole down.
Yeah. So
that's funny.
I digress. So we are now starting with chapter 4. So we have gone through all of the introductions, all of the history. We have gone through how to build a Psionisist. We have gone through psionic combat, and we have gone through clairsentience, the divination of clairsentience. So that is everything that you've missed.
I liked
in episode 1 and 2.
I'm just going to put this out there. I liked the clairsentience category way more than I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to be like, I might want one. No, I need like 3 of those, bro. Like for real. Like I'm taking that. Like I don't know if it's going to be my primary, but it's definitely on the list.
Absolutely.
It's definitely on the list.
And it's one of those ones where again, both roleplay and in-game has a lot of options.
Yeah.
But you're going to I think what you're going to end up seeing is you're going to see that a lot tonight. When we go through the rest of these,
interesting.
It's going to be a lot of the same.
Okay.
So, chapter 4, psychokinesis. That is our divination. We are going to start with the sciences. Again, sciences, let me just... Oh, no, we don't have Discord up. But remember, sciences are the higher level powers. Divinations are the lower level power. Or divination is the whole thing. There's science, which is the higher level powers, and devotions.
Yes.
Devotions are the low-level powers. So, starting off with psychokinetic sciences.
Which one was this again? This is...
Psychokinesis.
Psychokinesis. That's the whole thing.
Psychokinetic sciences. So, first one out the gate, and I told you this, I think I mentioned this at the very end of last stream. This one is just always a great one to start with. Create object.
Create object.
Yes, maintenance cost is 3 per round with an initial of 16. What you basically can do is you can assemble matter from thin air and essentially create solid objects that are in existence as long as you're paying the maintenance cost. So you just create an object and it's there as long as you're paying the cost for it. And then it basically will break into whatever parts that you made it out of, if you stop immediately. And then once it's been created, it can take any shape, color, and texture that you want, provided it fills at least one of 3 conditions, or one of 4 conditions.
Okay.
So it falls within one of 4 conditions. Has to fit entirely within a sphere no more than 4 feet in diameter.
Okay.
It's fucking huge, dude.
4 feet in diameter?
That couch is not 4 feet in diameter, and it's a sphere that it has to fit within. Or fits entirely within a cylinder no more than 20 feet long and 1 foot in diameter. Fit entirely within a cylinder no more than 2 feet high and 6 feet in diameter, or weigh no more than 10 pounds.
Any size and no more than 10 pounds.
It has to fill at least one of those conditions.
Bet.
So yeah, it can be as big as any of those dimensions up to 10 pounds, or anything beyond that dimension under 10 pounds. The only available materials within 20 yards. So the range is 20 yards, so you only get to use materials within 20 yards of you.
And so it's going to weigh whatever those materials weigh.
Well, it's basically going to be made out of those. So it's like whether it's dirt, whether it's stone. Now, you want 10 pounds of stone or 10 pounds of dirt, you're going to get 10 pounds, right?
But if 10 pounds is not, then you're going to get basically not, right?
Well, yeah, it's like if whatever you're trying to use, if there's not enough stone, you're going to have to use something else. You have to use wood or something else. But the idea is like the construction materials are the atoms that you can pull around from.
Right. Okay.
Because it does say that you are creating matter out of nothing, but it's kind of like magic. You're siphoning it from things around you. So you're getting those properties. But the materials can be rearranged or restructured if you also have the other power of molecular rearrangement, which is another power we've mentioned, but we haven't gotten to yet.
Okay.
So it's another psionic power. And if you use these powers together, and again, the book is telling you this. I love that they're telling you how to...
You're already getting combo moves.
By combining the 2 powers, you could manufacture diamonds from coal dust or a sword from rock containing iron ore. So normally with the power of create object, if you had iron ore around, you could use something and make it based out of like the rock and the basic iron.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had molecular rearrangement, you could form a sword that's fully forged because you're molecularly rearranging it into the forged version. Or the other option was like, again, normally if you wanted to make, if there was coal around, all you could do is make something out of coal. Mm-hmm. Molecular rearrangement allows you to turn it into diamond. So it's that whole thing of and again, I love when second edition does that. It's
So,
those little slip-ins where that's just one example.
How easily would you allow a character, like with rolls and all, to just be like, okay, like the purity of this diamond, like this diamond is now worth 1,000 gold?
That would take way more than just these two powers. In my opinion, if you're creating diamond from coal dust, it is the shittiest possible fucking diamond to exist. People would spit on you and rather go pick up a pickaxe. Like, it's a diamond. It's a diamond, but my thing is
it qualifies
like,
as spell components when it asks for like diamonds and shit like that.
Unless there's a value. And if it requires a 200 GP diamond,
you just need a lot more of that. Yes?
So, this is rules raw without lore, right? By rules as written, yes, technically any amount of the material eventually would cost a value, right? Even if you said this diamond was worth a copper, you're like, well, technically then, by mathematics...
I just need that much.
But that's like saying, well, if I go to the DMV, I can pay my car registration with pennies. Technically, can you? Are they going to... You know what I mean? Like, there's that thing of... So, yes, could you abuse it? Sure. But remember, create object, you also have to maintain the cost. Mm-hmm. You can't... So, it's going to be a weird thing where that's why I would also rule that you could work up to being able to make a diamond worth it and then give it to someone while you're maintaining it to then use it as a material component. But it would not be that basic as just these two powers. Because if you think about it, why wouldn't every Psionicist immediately do that and just be the richest person on the planet? It's one of those balancing things. So in High Point, the idea is that if you're doing it, you're like a sword. If you manufactured a sword, sure, you could probably manufacture swords and sell one as a cheap, and then guess what? They walk away, you stop, holding it, and it disassembles, and you're gone. I have Psionicist NPCs that do that. They're traveling merchants, and that's all they do. They make shit, sell it, and then 2 days later, or like that afternoon, they just get out of town and then drop all their concentration, and the items break. But in my opinion, it's like, if you have that sword is of the lowest quality. Like, you take it to a shop, it would not be equal to the sword they sell. Yeah. It would be a sword, it would function in combat as it does in the book. But value-wise, it would not necessarily be rusty, but it would just be imperfect. But I do have things that I would allow if you knew blacksmithing, for instance. If you also had another point in molecular rearrangement, right? If you had certain things that gave you expertise.
Okay, so let me ask you that. Say, because you can take one of these skills multiple times to decrease your... Would you say that also increases their ability with that?
In High Point, yes. Similar to proficiencies, because normally you don't double down on proficiencies, and all they do is give you a better chance to do them. But with everything, the more you put into it, the more in High Point you will get out. So yes. Oh, it's very similar to Doft. The more you learn about your bending, the more things you can do with it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, but yours is happening naturally because it's your class.
Okay.
Same thing would happen here. Just like your ability to get different materials that you can bend over time.
Yes.
The better you understood these things, the more you could do. And I would say the more you put into create object, the bigger and heavier you could make.
Okay. And the more you put into molecular reconstruction, the more better quality items you... Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
What? 4:45 a.m. Let's go! Good morning!
Go! Oh my goodness.
Go. All right. So with this one, if the power check result is 1, so the critical failure, the item contains a flaw, the sword breaks when struck, the diamond contains impurities obvious to the jeweler, and so on. Now, this is weird because it does say impurities,
Say
to the jeweler.
that one more time?
So basically, if you crit fail, not crit fail, but if you roll a 1, this version of like failure but not crit fail.
Okay.
Basically, it has an imperfection, so swords will break upon impact. Diamonds aren't worth selling. So yes, it does indicate that the diamond, if you fail, the diamond will have an imperfection a jeweler can notice. Therefore, it indicates by ruling that the other diamond wouldn't be sellable.
Yes.
But that's where my ruling would be like, okay, even though it indicates that, it's going to be worth a several gold. Like it's like getting a diamond off your grandmother's ring. It might be worth a couple bucks, but it's not like going to Jared or whatever and buying a $5,000 diamond today, right? The cut's not going to be the same because you're not a diamond cutter. But if you took the diamond cutter proficiency, I'd let you make one that has a better cut. Right? Like the idea is you don't know what makes a good diamond, but you know how to make one.
Right.
That to me, those are two different things. So that's how I work in high, that's just another example of how I work things in High Point. It's not about whether the rules say, well, technically the rules say I could. And it's like, you could, but it's just like, I could hand you the tools and the materials to build a computer. But if you have no idea how a computer operates, you would have no idea to what plugs into what. Right? So
very true.
I could give you all the materials all day long and give you a base idea of how to make, one part of it work, make a light bulb work, but that wouldn't mean you would make the hardware work. So
yeah,
I would make, you work for it, but still possible because I do like the idea that it should be possible.
Right. Okay.
Let's see. And then quickly here, a crit, the object is permanent. No cost is expended to maintain it. So you can make objects permanent if you crit success. And if you crit fail, the power backfires and a personal belonging chosen at random disintegrates.
Does it have to be on you?
It just says a personal belonging chosen randomly.
Yeah. What constitutes a personal belonging? Can I just sell all my stuff? I don't want you to take my things.
Right? But see, this is why I love this stuff.
That's crazy, though.
This sounds like uber powerful, but then when you look at it, you're like,
because I was like, just spam the heck out of it till you get a 20, bro. But
then you could lose everything. You could literally lose everything.
That's crazy.
And because it says it disintegrates, because I have the mechanic in High Point that magical items explode when they are destroyed. If you have any magical items that disintegrate, that's going to fucking explode right on you. Or let's say it's not on you, it's a personal item and it, you have a vault somewhere and one of your magic items explodes inside your vault with all your other magical items.
That's I'll just being disrespectful now.
Spell component is my answer to players who want to rule shit me with some magic. You want to cast Dark Vision? Do you have a carrot at hand? No, and that's the thing. When you have those rule lawyers, spell components are kind of fun to like mess with them.
Yeah.
But every edition has some sort of cop out. You know what I mean? Second edition or first edition, AD&D had the belt, the pouch. The component pouch.
Really?
There's been component belts. Basically, there's always been a item that essentially says if you buy this and you role play that every town you
refill it or whatever.
You just have
like your arrows.
You just have all your base stuff. So there's always been a mechanic for that, but it's like, eh.
Yeah.
All right, next one. So yeah, that one already I love it because again, you could make things that are like you could make a gold coin that looks like a gold coin, but you can make one. Now, that's where the funny ruling, though, is, too, right? Because it says you can make something in a certain size, but it does say that the object, like, it is a single object. So you could not say, well, that's a large diameter. Can I just make a pile of gold? It's like, no, you can't, because each one's individual. You could make a giant brick of gold, but you would not be able to make a chest full of gold, right? You wouldn't be able to make those individual parts. So that's where this gets
unless
really interesting.
You're really clever and it's like a solid piece. It just looks
and
like
it's just carved.
So don't touch it. It's solid, but yeah, maybe
that's where you get into like those mechanics of like you could think about different ways, but then you really got to understand what you can only really make one thing. So you really got to. But then again, you can make like what looks like a golden scepter.
Yeah,
and make that look sellable.
I was thinking a big ass blanket, a cloak. Like, it just has to be under 10 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
Bro.
A net. You could have temporary net, and then you can just dispel at any given moment and then recreate. I mean, again, as long as you're making these checks and having the PSP, you could literally... I mean, imagine being able to do that. Imagine you can just be like, by the way, net. You could just net people whenever you want with this. You could literally just cast net on anyone at any point, like a bolas. You could just be, or you could just get like a whip. You could just get some like. There's so many weird possibilities with create objects.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a lot of fun.
All right, so next one, opposite spectrum. Oh, was it? You want to run the next one? Do you have one diamond worth 1,000 gold coins? One, not many small ones. And exactly, a lot of spell components do say it is an individual item.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 one-piece gold,
That's
diamonds.
very
It needs
interesting.
the one piece, or it needs the one item. All right, so opposite spectrum for the next science, detonate. This is going to give you very, it's basically Shatter vibes. So 18 cost, and it has a 60-yard range. Area of effect is 1 item or 8 cubic feet. You do need some prerequisites on this one, though. You need telekinesis, obviously, and molecular agitation. So you do need that one in order to be able to do this. So basically, in this particular one, you can do anything from make a bush explode, like self-destruct, or cause a zombie to explode. You basically take latent energy inside plants or inanimate objects and basically release them in an explosion. So it works against animated undead, so skeletons and zombies. It does not affect non-corporeal undead, such as ghosts, because they don't have any material. They have no effect on animals of any sort, including intelligent creatures such as humans or undead with free will. So there are, again, you're not just exploding regular people. The detonation inflicts 1d10 damage on all vulnerable objects which you choose to attack within 10 feet. So
you can choose what it hurts.
So the idea, so the range is 60 yards. You choose the item to detonate. The detonate inflicts 1d10 damage upon all vulnerable objects which the Psionisist chooses within 10 feet.
Within 10 feet of that object.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then to determine what percentage of the object was destroyed, multiply the... so... You do, and then there's a saving throw versus breath weapon to reduce the damage to half. So save for half. But you can determine the percentage of what part of the object was destroyed by multiplying the result of your power check by 10. So whatever your 20 die roll, you multiply that by 10. If the product is over 100 or more, it's just 100%. Or more. So basically,
anything over a 10, and you blow the whole thing up.
100% explodes. Anything under a 10, and that much of it actually explodes. Which I do like that, adding that mechanic, because depending on what you're fighting actually matters, right? If a piece of it still exists, that could actually matter. Anything less means a few significant chunks remain. No more than 8 cubic feet of material can be destroyed with this power. So there is still a limit.
Right.
100% of it.
But 8 cubic feet, that's
that's a sizable chunk.
That's a sizable chunk. I'd say that's
instance,
a large creature.
For instance, it says you can blow out a chunk of wall. So you can just choose the wall and just blow out a chunk of wall. But if the wall is 10 inches thick, you'd only get an opening about 3 feet wide. Because, the depth.
Just enough for you to get through.
And then if you crit success, damage and range double to 2d10 points and 20 feet respectively.
Okay.
And if you crit fail, the air surrounding the initiator detonates. Everyone within 10 feet of them is attacked. So basically,
does that include yourself?
Yeah, it basically detonates on you, and then everybody within 10 feet takes the 10d. You and them take 1d10 damage.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, just not as harsh, but still devastating in good combat.
Yes.
Or good to make a distraction. Good to make an exit.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, dude, you're on the 3rd floor somewhere, and you're fighting the BBEG. Just make the floor underneath him shatter, and then just make him drop.
That would actually be kind of fire.
This is what I'm talking about. When I talk about, role play stuff, I don't just mean dialogue role play in terms of, you and the DM talking it out. When I talk about role play, that's more than combat to me. It's not doing damage, but being able to strategically know where they are. If you're on a bridge and being like, you know what? Guess what I have? Levitate, detonate, buy bridge, and I'll just float my happy ass down to safety while I watch the BBEG plummet to his death. You know what I mean? That right there to me is a role play maneuver, not so much an attack action.
Definitely.
That's what I mean by this has such that great opportunity to do things that in an encounter you would not expect. You could think about blowing up the bridge with a fireball spell or something, but detonate, you could literally make a specific hole right underneath them. Do damage and then make them drop. And then on top of that, let's say they hold on and they're climbing back up. Oh, that's okay. I have this other power. Make the net. And then just net them out the hole.
That's freaking hilarious.
They're dude, just layers. Just pile it on, dude. Just pile it
layers on layers. Get you some.
All right, so that was
That was
That was
detonate.
detonate. Now we have disintegrate.
Okay.
This one, so the last one, detonate cost 18. This costs 40.
Lord Jesus, you better do a lot.
Range is 50 yards, but you
Okay.
still get the one item or 8 cubic feet.
Okay.
The disintegrate one basically reduces an item or creature's microscopic pieces and scatters them. 2 microscopic pieces and scatters them. So basically, just turns you into your atoms and then just poof.
It's like Mr. Manhattan over here.
Exactly. That's exactly how I think of it. Is just the Mr. Manhattan move.
That's freaking crazy.
Anything is vulnerable unless it is protected by magical shielding, such as a minor or regular globe of invulnerability.
That's why it's 40.
Or by inertial barrier.
Because you could do this to people.
Yeah, you can do this to anything. Like it's gone.
Bruh.
You choose the target. The Psionisist chooses his target, but he can disintegrate no more than 8 cubic feet of material with the power. And it's also
That's a whole person, though.
And it's also quiet. Unlike the detonate where you blow a hole in the wall, you could literally just be like, the door's gone. Just gone. Just door gone. No one knows. Trap and all. The door is trapped. The door and the trap are gone.
That's freaking
So if the target is an inanimate object, it must save versus disintegration. Success means it's unaffected. If the target is a living creature, character, or an undead creature with free will, it must make a saving throw versus death magic. If successful, the creature feels only a slight tingle but is otherwise unaffected. If the save fails, the creature is disintegrated or 8 cubic feet right out of its center, which should be enough to kill most anything. So you can save out, but it is basically its own power word kill. If you think about it, this is the Psionisist power word kill for 40 points only.
Goodness.
And remember, unlike you can only do one thing a round, but that's as long if you have the points for it.
How many points does Safia have?
Right now,
Like
I
total,
think she's hovering
or max
around like
pool?
80, maybe 90. So yeah, she could do this twice in combat.
That's crazy.
Yeah. My Psionicist, my old Psionicist, Rena, she had like near 300 by the time I was done with her.
At what level is that?
I don't even remember.
Was that
I think I had some other things that bumped it, but it was basically like I was over 130 by like 9th level, I think.
Goodness.
It was absolute insanity. We'll go over it when we create yours.
All right. Wow.
But I do like that it is basically kind of like excuse me, kind of like power word kill, but I do like that it has a save out. It's like basically you get to save.
It's possible, yeah. You don't
and
just
then
die, but
your crits.
ooh,
You can affect 16 cubic feet, and saves are made with a -5 penalty for a crit success.
That's pretty good. That's
Crit
pretty
failure,
good.
the power backfires, and it affects the initiator with a +5 bonus.
You could literally kill yourself.
But you save with a +5 bonus. So you still have to
Oh,
save.
so it's easier for you to save.
You still have to save, but you get a +5 bonus. But yes, you could turn it on yourself and disintegrate. And think about it again. If you are wearing all of your stuff and it disintegrates at center mass, it's you and everything it disintegrates, or what you tried to disintegrate, right? So if you said the full
that's interesting.
If you said the full 8 cubic feet and then it backfires, it's full 8 cubic feet. If you said I only want to do a small bag's
So
worth,
you wouldn't say this is limited to one object.
well, it is. So you the area of effect is one item, but it's an 8 cubic feet. So you have to target an item, but you can take no more than 8 cubic feet of it. So if you target a giant creature, you could take up to 8 cubic feet. If you
What I'm
target
thinking
a
is, if you were to target me and I'm wearing stuff, you would disintegrate my body, but you would not disintegrate my gear. Like, I'm curious how you would rule that, because I would say your object, like your gear, is a separate object from you.
No, that is actually true. No, you are right, because it says that you choose his target and he can disintegrate no more than 8 cubic feet of material. So yes, it is not a sphere of disintegration. It is up to 8 cubic feet of the target. So if you target their armor, it's up to 8 cubic feet of the armor. Mm-hmm. If you target their skin, their body, it's their body. Mm-hmm. So I guess, yeah. So when it comes back on you, it would target the same. If you targeted them and you got you would disintegrate all of you and your shit would just fall.
So that's very curious. You only get a save if you're conscious.
Well,
you only get a save if you have like
Well, this does say inanimate objects must make a save versus disintegration, and living creatures will make a save versus death magic. So
disintegration.
So it's not a conscious save either. It is a save versus death magic. It's an innate save, because second edition has things like that where it's like it's an innate ability to save against it.
Okay. So
yeah. But good point. No, good point on pointing out it is specific to one item and 8 cubic feet of material of that item.
Is save versus disintegration like a specific kind of spell, kind of like a spell fail?
It's basically, it goes, because there's not like a disintegration saving throw, but it's basically like save versus spell. So save versus disintegration probably has, like in the player's handbook or the DMG, probably has a special note of which one it falls under.
Okay.
But it's most likely save versus spell.
Okay.
It could be save versus death, because because save versus disintegration is similar to the save versus death, but since it's an item, it's just it's weird when they do that, because your saving throws are limited to like rod, staffs, wands, petra, poly, death, breath weapon. So it's like it's kind of weird when they say something like that, because there isn't a save versus disintegration, but I think it's just in the supplemental
they have
rule, you just point to which
category for it. Okay.
So yeah, I love the backfires. I always love a good backfire. Is there a limits to size and or weight? So basically, it's any target that you want within 50 yards. So one item. So it's an individual, a creature, or what they're wearing, or what they're holding, or a wall, or a door. But it takes up to 8 cubic feet of material. So only of that.
So if you were to target a gargantuan creature, which is technically one creature, you would only get 8 cubic. But it's from their center mass, though. It says it'll take it directly from the center of them. So it might hurt them depending on how many internal organs, but maybe they got like 5 hearts or something like that, which is possible. So they might still be able to survive. But
yeah, it would take 8 cubic feet right out of its center, which should be enough to kill most anything. So basically, if it's big enough, you'll basically disintegrate. If it's small, you'll just everything will be gone.
Yeah.
So no Tarask or BBEG. I mean, not the whole castle, but his castle door. No, the fun part is this is where, as a DM, you can have some fun with this. Let's say I have a door that you came to, and you wanted to cast this on said door. But let's say it's a solid wood door with iron casing, not like a solid iron, but iron bars that case the wooden door, so it's like wood and iron, and you cast this spell. Do you have to cast it twice?
Oh, on the wood and the metal.
Because even though the door, because this is where, again, raw without lore, right? I'm gonna harp this. This is gonna be my beyond the book is like the D&D discussions, but I'm gonna harp on raw without lore so much, because that is gonna be my new thing. That's that concept, right? Is we can always sit there and discuss semantics. We can always break that down of, well, what is a door? What are its components? Well, if it's made out of 2 different types of wood, does that, like if I made a door with each slot of different wood, do they have to do it 9 times? So there's that question, right? Is when it says it's one item and 8 cubic feet of material, do we dissect it and go, oh, well, what does material mean? What does an item mean? Well, the door is one item, but material, it's made out of different materials. And then, well, what's a different material? Are 2 different trees different materials, or is wood all one material? So there's all of those conversations, but that's where I'm like, well, what would raw with lore indicate? Because Psionics is not a spell, and usually raw with lore, when I talk about magic, is about spells. Specifically spells, because again, spells are documented things that are intended to be reproduced, like a recipe. Therefore, it's been tried, trued, it's ancient. We've gone over that. Psionics are a little bit different because they're innate powers. It's something that you just know how to do. But raw with lore, what was the intent when they made this spell? How much were they really trying to break that all down?
How specific were they trying to be?
Were they worried that a door that has iron casing and wood would only half disintegrate? Did they really think that? Now, maybe they thought, hey, if you have a wood door with, like the iron slits in the window, maybe someone had ruled when you disintegrate the door, the iron drops and makes a sound, and therefore you
could be heard or something.
And then you could extrapolate, well, that means that the door knocker and the handle and the lock fell. It's like, okay, maybe it did. Maybe that's what made the noise. But I don't think it was intended to be dissected. I think it was meant to be like what we talk about, be consistent. If you say a door that has multiple components, the whole door's gone. From the future, you can't be like, well, that's made out of 2 different components. You can't do that. It's like, that door was made out of 2 different components and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would say make the ruling up front. If you try to destroy an object and you say, well, that object is made out of, you can see it's made out of gold and silver. So which one are you targeting, right? Like a goblet. And then you have alloys. That's where I start to go, I don't think they intended you to worry about if it's made out of multiple materials. Like, if you're holding a crossbow...
If it's a thing, it's a thing.
If you're holding a crossbow and I target the crossbow, the whole crossbow is going to disintegrate out of your hands. Not the strings not being left behind. You could maybe joke that they're now holding a bolt. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you could joke that the bolt isn't part of it, so the weapon's gone, but the ammo's still there. Narratively, that makes more sense. But to be like, oh, well, it disintegrates and the beam falls and a piece of string falls and the bolt, like, why
do all that?
Exactly. So my idea would be, unless narratively speaking, like, on average, a door goes away. The wall goes away. That object that's made out of multiple things goes away. Unless, for instance, I have a character or a NPC who is like, hey, I'm building a fortress against shit. So I'm building a door in a way that's made with multiple materials. Yes, then I would call it like, hey, it was a special door specifically designed.
This door was engineered for this purpose.
Yeah, and however you want to, talk about how that's done. But I would not try to say that every single thing has to be accounted for every material it's made out of.
Yeah.
I would say use not the rule of cool, but the rule of narration. If it narratively makes sense to, again, if it's a wooden door, you're trying to be sneaky and the wooden door, the only metal in it is like the iron bars for like a little window. Mm-hmm. I don't mind you narratively saying that the iron bars don't disintegrate and they didn't think about that, so it alerts the guards. That narratively makes sense. But I wouldn't narratively later be like, I want to disintegrate the lock, but not the door and just the whole, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't break it down. It's just like, choose your object.
There's probably another power that can do that if that's what you really want to do, but...
Exactly. The leaves of a tree are not the same material as the wood. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. A tree. If you're targeting a tree, the whole fucking tree's going. Like,
just a whole bunch of leaves just fall down.
I'm not going to say that the leaves and the seeds and the animals, like the animals inside would survive.
Yeah.
But I'm not, maybe the nest, goes away. Like
that would be
bird's
hilarious.
Nest would fall.
If just a tree full of creatures and the tree's just gone. Bro.
But then again... hate that we're doing this, but again, this is just how we work here. This is just what we do, guys. Imagine being able to make the call, though. Like, a tree would be a good point. Like, the leaves don't go away. But let's say you wanted to hone the power, add another point into it. I would let you rule. Let's say that you want to be a Psionisist that's a good farmer. So you go out into your field and you see that your harvest is ready, and you just go, disintegrate tree, and then all of the apples just fall. Like... I would say that would be an upgraded version, but that would be something that we could get into the discussion of, okay, practicality-wise.
But that's more control of the caster.
Control, not semantics, right? We're not sitting there being like, well, everything should fall. It's like, no, you're intending to cut off the disintegration at the stem, literally. So I think there's room for wiggle room to discuss it. I just think that,
I like it.
Realistically speaking, these were meant to be kind of powerful. You know what I mean? So
that's crazy. 40?
But I do think that, again, intends that armor being worn is not the same as the material of the target.
Yes.
You either target their armor or you target them. You don't target everything of them.
And I think that very much falls in line because, because again, you don't want this to be able to be stupidly abused, right? Mm-hmm. And if somebody's like, "Oh, well, I'm going to cast it over here and it's going to do all of this," it's one thing. You get one.
This doesn't count as destroying magical items in the same context for High Point. Disintegration doesn't count as destroying the magical item in the same way. So there is a burst of energy that has different fallout effects, but it is not the same as an explosion that, say, the destruction of a magical item would cause.
Out of curiosity, are there certain types of items, at the very least in High Point, that would not or could not be destroyed this way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like things that could not be disintegrated, absolutely.
Would you say the same is true for the earlier power that would destroy one of your random items? Would those same items be items that could not be destroyed? Oh, like the
backfire version?
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like if the item could not be disintegrated, those items would be immune to the backfire.
So would you say they would be immune to its effects, or would they be immune to being chosen?
Both.
Interesting.
Like, again, if it's immune to being disintegrated, either by psionic power specifically or by virtue of, like, divine creation or whatever, it doesn't matter what angle you fire it at. It's just not going to be hit. Like, the idea is that power, if it's not able to be targeted, it's just that power isn't strong enough to do it to that item.
Okay.
But it would have to, again, it would all depend upon what did you do. Like, if you made an item not targetable, that's different than not affectable. An item that cannot be disintegrated will just not be able to be disintegrated. But if you, say, built an item and had a wizard imbue it while they were enchanting it with a ward. So, like, let's say you wanted this thing to do, fire damage or heat damage, right? So you enchanted it, but you're like, hey, I don't want this thing to, like, be dispelled or throw blah blah blah.
Like how some wizards do for their books for, like, water damage and stuff like that.
Exactly. So maybe he puts a ward of non-targeting, right? So he can enchant it with a ward that literally makes it so it cannot be the target of spells or powers or abilities. Like, literally, basically, for all intents and purposes, it's almost like the Doctor Who version of a chameleon circuit. Just perception circuit. You don't know it's there. A perception filter. You know they're holding something, but you just, whenever you look at it, you're like, which hand? I know you have a weapon. Where is it? It's that kind of thing, right? So if you did something like that, I wouldn't be able to target it with this. But if I held it and it backfired, it could be a randomly selected chosen, because that's not targeting it. That's a backfire of the magic, right? The backfire could select it, but that's not the same as being targetable.
So I'm curious if that's the case, then in the backfire sense, would it still be able to choose an item that can't be destroyed, since it still technically qualifies as
you could always choose it, but nothing would happen.
And so
just like
that's kind of what I'm thinking.
So basically, what would happen is those items would auto succeed.
It would be the one time you got so lucky it backfired on you, and then it chose something that it couldn't destroy.
If it was like a D20 roll or something of all your items, and the D20 roll landed on the item it couldn't destroy. Because the same thing is, basically, it would select the item, and the item would make a save, but it would auto-save.
Oh, that's right, because they still have to make the save versus disintegration.
But those items would auto-save. Those items would essentially mechanically have auto-save, so no big deal. Would disintegration work on trolls, even though since it's not fire damage? 100% yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah, gosh. Doesn't worry about fire damage, just because it is targeting material, and it is literally just breaking it apart atom by atom.
I wonder if the explosion would have anything to do with fire damage. The one we just did before this?
Oh, detonate? That has nothing to do with fire damage. That is you were taking the latent energy within something and exploding it. That is explosive damage. That is shrapnel damage.
All right.
And what is with not material enemies, like... So the previous one... Well, yeah, you wouldn't be able to disintegrate anything that doesn't have material. So, like, ghosts or anything... It doesn't specifically say
they're not corporeal,
yeah. But, yeah, you wouldn't be able to target something that's not corporeal. Because it said that on detonate. Detonate, you can't do anything.
That's actually hold on a second. Does a fire elemental have mass? Because it's like there's gas, but like...
I mean... you're still because again, you're just taking the microscopic pieces and scattering them by atoms. So whatever it's made out of is still what you're scattering, right? You would still scatter it would basically be like throwing water on it. You're still changing what it is. You're still literally taking its physical form. Now, granted, an elemental may not die from that. You may decide that doesn't die, but it
actually that's very fair.
It could weaken, because again, like a fire elemental, it's summoning the flames are being summoned from the fire elemental plane. But if you extinguish part of it, it's now weaker. It may now be smaller, but it may not be dead. Like a troll losing all of its organs would be dead.
Yeah.
But an air elemental losing half of it, it could just resummon half, So I would say maybe certain elementals would be affected differently, depending on how easy it would be for them to recall the rest of it.
I like this.
Like an air elemental would be able to basically, like, it would be null effective because they would instantly refill. Like, they're in air, right?
Even if it ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, but a fire elemental calling it from another element, if there's not an active fire around, where are they going to get? They're going to have to build up slower. Same thing with water. If there's no active water around, they would have to build up slower. Earth elemental, you'd blow it in half, and then I imagine the earth and air elemental are more like the Terminator, the T-1000, where it's just like They're like, and what? Just keep blowing holes in me, dude. I'm literally attached to the earth.
Freaking nuts, man.
Fire is a process. Dust elemental. The dust bunny elemental. That's
yes.
the god of dust bunnies.
Actually, I'm making that now. That's the thing.
But yeah, so funny enough, detonate does say you have to have material, like physical material. Disintegrate does not. It just says that it takes it into microscopic pieces. So I would say on the ruling of whether or not it's targeting a ghost or anything like that, I would say that there's no definitive answer straight out the gate. It would depend on every individual, because in High Point, each of those is manifested differently in the physical realm.
Right.
Like ghouls, banshees, ghosts are all different representations. So I would say that in High Point, because it doesn't say that it has to have a corporeal form, it would target any those things that have some sort of corporeal physical form. Like certain types of ghosts don't. You can see them, but they are in a sense of an illusion.
Right.
But there are others that take physical form, even though it's more like the
yeah,
it's
I see what you're saying.
The idea of like Dresden Files. They use ectoplasm to take physical form. So ghosts don't take form. You see them because you see the spirit. But certain other things like wraiths and banshees will take physical forms via ectoplasm, or demons or other things that are traveling to the mortal plane that don't exist here. They will take form with ectoplasm. Those would work with this. But things that don't exist on this plane with anything, or more like projections, you can't disintegrate a projection. But if they are here in some sort of body, I would say it works.
Okay.
So that would be my High Point definition. But I don't necessarily think second edition would say this can't work against a ghost in second edition rules as written, because it does not. The other spells specifically said
that would be very interesting,
and this one doesn't. So I'm going to say that because it specifically doesn't say it, you can target it. You can target a ghost with this.
I don't know how I feel about this.
All right, molecular rearrangement. So this was the
one
molecular agitation is the one that we're looking for. That's the prerequisite from before.
That's for explosion, but this was something that we could use in combination with
create object.
Create object.
Create object. This is the one that we mentioned previously, where combine those two and you make some really cool effects. So molecular rearrangement basically allows, it's equivalent to alchemy. So you can change the fundamental properties of objects. You cannot create matter or mass from nothing. So again, this one's not about creating, but it's just about manipulating. You can't change a material state from liquid to solid or from gas to liquid in that respect either, right? So you can't take water.
Is there another
steam.
Power that can?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's best suited for converting one sort of element into another, but it can also be used for more complex operations, neutralizing poisons, for example. So basically, converting one element into another is usually a simple operation, kind of takes up to an hour in-game time, but you could do things like turn steel to lead or any metal to gold. So these are the things you could do. So you can't turn water into steam, you can't turn, a metal into a pool of liquid metal, but you can turn materials into other materials with the right time frame. You can do other complex rearrangement, like changing a metal into glass or changing a wooden goblet into a ruby goblet, which takes 4 times longer.
A wooden goblet into a ruby?
Yes, these are the things that take a lot more. This is basically an initial cost of 20, and it's the maintenance cost of 10 per hour. And that's what basically you put more time in to do more things.
Right.
And the preparation time is 2 hours.
Wait, initial of 20. So if you want to do this with wait, so you have to pay the maintenance cost to keep it that way? Or is the maintenance cost just to finish doing the thing because it takes a while?
Well, no, it's permanent. The change is permanent.
Okay.
So you have to be paying these because it takes so many hours. Like, so every material change. So, let's see. So converting one element to another is simple, in which 1 ounce of material can be changed per hour. So you convert 1 ounce of material per hour with that maintenance cost of 10 per hour. So however much you're changing over, but that means that you can change all of your coppers into gold. A Psionisist literally can change all of their money into platinum with enough time. Now, granted, the higher the complexity, right? So copper to silver may take the normal time, but maybe in the gold it says gold is easy, but gold to platinum would probably take the 4 times, right? Just because that's a little OP. But think about it. As a psionicist, your party will never have anything less than gold on them, ever.
That's crazy.
Like,
That's
dude,
crazy.
You know how broken this is? Do you understand how broken this is? Go to any shop and be like, hey, here's a gold. What's the cheapest thing or just, can I get change? What's the cheapest thing you own? Like, literally every time you break a gold, you just have more gold now. That's how broken this shit is.
And then you just give them that gold back.
And break it again.
I need some more.
Infinite money glitch.
I just need some more.
Infinite money glitch.
I mean, it'll get expensive. Like, you might have to come back in a couple days, but
yeah. But I do like that anything more complex is 4 times longer, so that's a lot of cost.
yeah.
Now we know where the single 10,000 gold the gold diamond comes from is you just make all this free gold and then you go buy it. All right, so the creation of gold coins from other materials is possible, but there's no way to get rich quick. At a rate of 1 ounce per hour, it would take 16 hours, about 2 working days, to change 10 copper pieces to 10 gold pieces for a net of 9 gold piece profit. So, math-wise,
you said it would take how many hours?
So at a rate of 1 ounce per hour, it would take 16 hours or 2 working days, because it is physical labor, right?
Yeah.
You can't just do 16 straight hours to change 10 copper pieces to 10 gold pieces. So and you're only profiting 9 gold pieces because 10 copper is one. So it's like you're only really profiting.
Yeah, that's fair.
That piece. So it's like, it's like, is that really beneficial? Because you're sacrificing all of that time. Like, granted, it could be beneficial for a low-end campaign. I mean, if you have time to burn, and if you guys don't have, like, in-game time, that matters. And theoretically, a psionicist could burn time literally as their job. Like, if the average person, peasant lives on, like, 3 gold a month, and they can do 9 gold over the course of 2 days... They're living a psionicist could live comfortably and over enough years could be very rich.
Very much so, especially if you invest that money, gamble that money, do all kinds of craziness.
But it's still, I do like that they put out the math.
You're not just going to be like chunking this out like super hard.
I do like that they point out that it is good for making superior weapons. You can temper any weapon and receive basically a +1, so you can basically improve the quality of any weapon to give it a +1, but it's not magical. So it's kind of just a +1 of damage.
You could silver any weapon.
Yep. So, for example, to do like this, like to do a short sword would take 40 hours to temper it properly to give it a +1 damage.
How many?
40. So again, it's not like it's just to get
40?
power quick. Yeah. But the option's there.
Okay, so the question is, can you do this over time, or does it have to be all in one chunk? Because, like...
Well, it's the ounces per hour. So yeah, you could stop, but only half the material has been changed.
Got you.
So it is a longer process that you have to do over time. You're just changing it piece by piece, right? You're just moving down the line. Go to the smith, ask for an iron bar, turn it to gold. That would probably take a week, but you could probably turn an iron bar, because again, it's by ounce, by that weight, or by the amount of the weights.
God, that's crazy. But that would be fun.
Yeah.
And so, again, I don't know if this is high point or if they actually have scaling in the book, but if you put more points into this, if you're like, hey, I want to keep building this up, would that time get potentially shortened? Would your PSP cost potentially go down?
The time would get shorter, and it would probably just be the time would get shorter. Same PSP cost, but it would be a lot easier. What does the count for silver weapons against... Does this also count for silver weapons against werewolves? You mean like if you made a weapon then turned it into silver, would that silver be real silver to work against werewolves? Yes, it would be real silver.
Because you really only have to do the blade. Like, some people just do the tip.
Just do the tip. Yeah, absolutely, that would work. I do like this. This is the kicker, though, because it's 20 initial, 10 per hour, but you make your power check when the process is done.
Oh, that's dicks.
If it fails, you did all of that for nothing. You waste all of your effort and time.
Oh, that's dicks.
The difference between the character's die roll and the power score multiplied by 10 equals the percentage of work which must be redone.
Wait. One more?
So if you fail, the difference between the character's die roll and the power score multiplied by 10 equals the percentage of work which must be redone.
That sucks.
If the roll is 1, the item seems perfect but contains a hidden flaw which will cause it to break or fail or simply look wrong when it's put to use. The ruby goblet might leak, for example, or the sword might contain a soft spot which will cause it to bend. This power has no effect against living creatures weighing more than 1 ounce. So yeah, it has effect against creatures weighing less than 1 ounce.
How many? Like plankton?
Creatures weighing 1 ounce or less are killed if their moleculars are rearranged. So like a fly, you can just kill a fly or something. Crit success, new material is extraordinary. DM's arbitration. So basically the DM basically says you've created something extraordinary. And if you crit fail, the item is seriously flawed and utterly useless. So at least if you normally fail, you get a chance to redo it,
right,
at a reduced cost.
But you destroy the item if you. So interesting. If you're doing this on a created item, you can just poof it away. If you're using this with your first power.
Yeah, if you want. I mean, if you wanted to.
Although that'd be so much work.
I don't know why you would. Yeah, and you really wouldn't want to do that though because you
have to maintain your PSP the whole.
You have to maintain to create the item, and you have to maintain. A fairy. Yeah, you could probably destroy a fairy if you have small enough fairies. You could probably just.
Okay, so interesting. So, if we're talking about this,
this is probably going to have a part 4.
I know, but so realistically, we were talking about using this in combination with the first power. If I want to use this to make a sword, is that going to take me like an hour to do?
Wait, which one? The molecular rearrangement?
The create object.
Oh.
With molecular rearrangement, because you were saying that like you need molecular rearrangement to make more specific items in the first one, right?
Yeah, so create object. So let's see. So only available 20 yards. It could be so helps power by these 2 powers.
I feel like fairies probably weigh more than 1 ounce.
So it's like yes. So what I'm looking at here is yes, it would take you a long ass time because the idea is that the create object would first be used to initiate the form, right? The coal dust into a diamond or the rocks and the ore into a sword, right? You take all of the iron ore out of the rock and you make a sword out of raw ore. Then, while you are maintaining create object at 3 per round,
you can't survive
then
that?
Activate molecular rearrangement and change that entire sword 1 ounce at a time in order to do it. So you wouldn't want to do it on a create object unless you happen to power score it and create the object permanently, but you also got to remember you don't roll the other one until it's done. So yes, you have to maintain create object the whole time while you're hoping that so yeah, it's a lot. You need a lot of PSP for this shit.
So they made it sound cool.
There's a lot you can do, but it's not first level you're going to be God. But think about what you can do at 20th level when you have time and effort, and there's other things like
so is that what people are doing when they're at 20th level? They're sitting here concentrating for 3 PSP around on this sword just so they can.
But remember, there's Psionics that offer other options.
Yeah, you can heighten other things and stuff like that.
And there's plenty of things. Remember, you can also create batteries, psionic batteries, to help you recharge. So it's like you could have things that have psionic.
Double your PSP.
Yeah. So there's stuff. There's stuff out there. All right.
Interesting.
So next one, project force. Range is 200 yards on this one. So basically, you can push, shove, or otherwise bully an opponent from afar. 200 yards is the range. I want to make sure I have that out there. So this force allows the Psionisist to basically punch against a target up to 200 yards. You can use it offensively to punch them and deal 1d6 damage plus the target's armor class. Negative armor classes reduce the damage. So, for example, a target with an armor class of 5 would suffer 6 to 11 points of damage, 1 to 6 points plus 5. A successful save versus breath weapon reduces the damage by half.
Okay.
So it basically acts as a breath weapon mechanically. And a rather unsubtle blow can also be used to trigger traps, throw levers, open doors if they aren't locked or latched, break windows, snuff out a candle. So it's basically, isn't there like a monk ability that you can kind of do this? There was like a monk ability where you could basically like do like a kind of like a one jab distance thing.
There is a subclass that kind of gives you like ranged, but that's like you get these spectral fists. It's a little different, but
I do kind of like that where you could just be like, and then and then just across the room just put out a fire or push someone or make something trip or like like yeah. I like this one.
I mean, you
It's
could break a
small,
window with that. That's crazy,
right? Your crit is the blow also knocks down the target if it's roughly man-sized or smaller, so you can make him go prone.
Okay.
Otherwise, and then the crit fail, the blow strikes the initiator, so you take the 1d6 damage.
Of course.
But yeah, not bad. Like pretty quick. I think this one again. It's weird that this is a science, but at the same time, you can push someone off a cliff.
Wait, that's a science?
Yeah, we're still in the sciences.
I forgot these are all sciences.
It only costs 10 though. So
I forgot. So everything we've talked about so far is a science.
Still in sciences.
Oh
yep.
my lord.
All right, next one. Of course, the classic one that we needed in this particular category, telekinesis. This one is an initial cost of 3+, so we'll get into why that is, and the maintenance cost is 1+ per round. We'll get into why that is. Range is 30 feet. So basically, the book calls this TK. So we always talk, if we ever mention telekinesis or TK for short, basically is this the move objects. So the telekinesis effort tends to be physically taxing because they involve real work. Moving small, lightweight objects is relatively easy. However, the heavier the object, the more difficult it becomes. So the cost of above the 3 PSP initially and the 1 per round assumes that the object being moved weighs 3 pounds or less. For heavier objects, the following rules will apply. Initial cost of the object's weight in pounds. So initial cost is 3 of anything 3 pounds or less.
So you're basically playing 1 PSP per pound.
1 PSP per pound after 3 pounds for
the initial cast.
For the initial. The maintenance is half the initial cost rounded down.
Okay.
So if it's a 10-pound object,
it's 5 rounded down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Per round. And the character's power score is decreased by 1/3 of the object's weight in pounds, rounded down. So a 30-pound object, round that's 10.
Because a third of that is 10.
So that would mean that your power score is -10. So you have like that little room to pull this off. So again, the bigger the object, the harder it is to do.
But that's just the initial.
No. That is
that power score. You only have to do that once.
Yeah, that's the initiation.
Okay,
like the initiation to use the power. So I do like that. I do like that it affects that because I do believe that makes more sense. Kind of like Yoda and Luke in the bog. Trying to physically like lift it up, and it's like there's a big difference between Yoda, who's been doing that shit for a long ass time, and actually I didn't even think about this before. I've never put this together, but a Psionisist and a Jedi are basically hand in hand the same thing. Lightweight, these are basically Jedi.
I mean, lightweight, with the exception of making yourself like big and small and doing some other more extravagant things.
More the
like,
D&D focused magic.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of this stuff basically
Very
is
much
just
so.
straight up what Jedi and Sith do.
That's kind of hardcore.
Man, I would like to make like two duos, like a Jedi, like have 2 players make 2 Psionicists, but one
Specifically
Sith's focus, one Jedi focus. They're partners, but just build out what you think a Sith would do with these powers and what a Jedi would do.
We should so do that.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So yeah, I do like how they rate that. So they have a couple examples here, but I think that's pretty straightforward of how this works. You can move objects up to 60 feet per round. The object serves as a weapon, or can serve as a weapon. The character attacks using their own THAC0, and then with a penalty equaling the object's weight modifier, so 1/3 its weight rounded down. So you can use it basically as a bludgeoning weapon, and the DM, I guess, would decide the damage.
Okay.
Of what you're throwing around. Crit success. The character can lift a second item of equal or lesser weight simultaneously for the same cost.
Wait, one more time?
If you crit success, the character can lift a second item of equal or lesser weight simultaneously for the same cost. If you crit fail, the Psionisist fumbles the item, knocking it over. Or if you're lifting it above your head, it drops on you. Whatever you're doing, it doesn't work. So yeah, not bad. I like good old-fashioned telekinesis. That was the last science, by the way. Now we're on devotion. So now we're on the telekinetic devotions. These are the lesser powers. These ones should be a little bit quicker, hopefully. Some of these are going to be pretty classic, like the first one, animate object. Initial cost of 8, maintenance cost is 3 per round, 50 yards, and you get 1 object up to 100 pounds. Basically, it works like the spell. You can basically bring the object to life and animate it. The objects are not actually alive, but they move under your control. You can make chairs walk, trees dance, stones waddle around. Can't make them do anything they couldn't physically do. But
so you can't uproot a tree. You could move it around,
correct.
But you can't uproot it.
Correct.
Okay.
The object being animated must weigh 100 pounds or less. The material being animated affects difficult of tasking. Stronger, more brittle materials are harder to animate, and weaker, floppy materials. Once animated, all materials become flexible to some extent. So, and then you have some modifiers. Cloth and paper have no modifier. Live wood, dead animals have a -1, all the way up to stone with a -6. Thick metal, thin metal are on there too. So different modifiers for different abilities or different materials. Fluid motion is not common. The animated item moves more like a puppet. Its movements are jerky and clumsy, as if it was rigid to begin with. Makes loud creaking, groaning sounds. So if you're trying to move a tree, yeah, it's going to basically sound like it's like in a thunderstorm or in a windstorm. And then it can move 60 feet per round in any direction chosen by Psionisist. It can attack as a club with a THAC of 20. Okay. So yeah, you can probably uproot a tree. I would probably make that a little bit harder. Like you're not just going to instantly make it walk away. Like it'll probably spend 1 round getting out of the ground and then 1 round be able to move after that.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I feel like that would make sense, right? It has to uproot itself. So in order to move it, you have to spend 1 full round getting out of the ground and then it can walk.
Okay.
Crit success. Animation is smooth and lifelike. So you basically get Whomping Willow, using the tree analogy.
Dope.
And if you crit fail, no additional effect. So this one, nothing bad happens. Nothing bad can happen. If you succeed, the only thing it can do is just get better.
It'll animate you instead. I'm just kidding. You're already animated.
Next one. Ooh, I love this one. Animate Shadow. 7 cost, 3 per round, 40 yards. And area of effect is 100 square feet. You can animate the shadow cast by anyone or anything and make it seem to have a life of its own. So basically, you just take it and puppet it. It must remain cast by whatever surface, and it can never be more than 2-dimensional. It can't really do anything other than startle or amuse someone. It cannot attack or disrupt a mage's concentration. In this regard, it's similar to a cantrip effect. It can serve as a diversion or enchantment on someone or attracting a guard's attention. So, literally does not have a lot of practical application, but that doesn't mean that something like, let's say your rogue's hiding and he's like at the edge of a very small shadow and you can just creak the shadow over a few inches, just enough to make it actually cover him. Again, to me, that's a role play aspect. That's a more feature.
What was the cost on this?
7 initial, 3 per round.
Okay.
Crit success, the range increases to 100 yards. Crit failure, the shadow disappears completely for 1 round. That could also be really fucking weird.
Especially if you're doing it on somebody else's shadow. Maybe that's what I want.
Next one. This one's really good. Again, another similar to his spells. Ballistic attack. This one, hands down, not one of my favorites, but one of the ones when people say, like, if you were to ask me, like, what are some, like, go-tos? Ballistic attack is one of my go-tos. 5 initial cost. Range is 30 yards. Area effect is 1 item up to 1 pound. Basically, it is a David versus Goliath spell. Because it's up to 1 pound. Essentially, you can take an object, any moving object relatively slowly, and ballistic attack basically allows you to hurl it like a projectile. So you can get no more than 1 pound, but you can achieve deadly speeds. You must be within sight of the Psionisist can see and not be anchored or attached to anything else. So the object must be free. A rock is the most common weapon. They can use their regular THAC to determine whether it hits the target. If they succeed, the missile inflicts 1d6 points of damage, assuming, of course, that the character made a successful power check. So if you can hit that, so this would take a roll to attack, like a roll to hit, and it would take your power check to do. But if you successfully did both, a tiny pebble can be 1d6 damage.
See, this is a power that I would use in combination with create object. Imagine I just create an object, throw it at your freaking head, and then...
But remember, you can only do 1 power at a time.
Okay. Well,
But if you created a net and then threw the net and then activated this while throwing the net the next round, you could velocity. I mean, the net would have to be 1 pound and all that. But yeah. So yeah, in that particular case, yeah, create an object and then the next round throw it with this. Yeah. But yeah, ballistic attack is like I like this super simple. I think there is a very similar spell where you can like accelerate objects. But I do like just a rock 1d6 damage. Crit success damage increases to 1d12, and crit failure ballistic boomerang. The Psionisist becomes the object's target.
Rude. So is there nothing like? Is there no accounting for the weapon in this when it comes to damage? Like hypothetically, if I were to throw an arrow, would you say realistically that would do more damage than a rock?
So in this particular case, because of the way that this is done, I would say that it's not really an additive, because what you're essentially trying to do is take something that's not a weapon and just you're using velocity, period. So while an arrow may also do like 1d6 damage, or you could say this
Piercing
arrow
damage.
does 1d10, that's fired from a bow. This is not the same as it's intended.
That's fair.
You are accelerating it to do 1d6 damage. Now, granted, a rock will do bludgeoning damage, an arrow would do piercing. But I would not say that you are going to get the same effect as an archer. Like, this is not an archer. Like, this is not a projectile spell. This is I want to take something that doesn't normally work, like up to 1 pound. So if you have a throwing dagger, right, those are usually 1d4. If you have a tiny little throwing dagger, 1d4, this turns it into a 1d6. Absolutely would increase it, but I would not say it adds, because this specifically says the missile inflicts 1d6.
Yeah.
So this is overriding it. So if you have something that does more damage
I
as
agree.
a thrown weapon, this wouldn't work. Because like let's say you had a throwing axe that does like 1d6.
I'm pretty sure that's gonna be more than 1 pound.
You could,
but yes,
again, you still have to throw it properly. So that would basically not give this any. It's not giving it more velocity. It's not like the enlarged spell that forces more out of it. It's just making sure that things that would not normally be able to do damage do damage. But something small that does normally like 1d4, like a sling. If you could do a bullet, from a sling that was 1d4, I would say add it with this, does 1d6 now.
Okay.
So I would say it can elevate but not add.
What would you say this was called again?
That was ballistic attack.
Ballistic attack.
All right, next one, body control. 8 to cost, 8 per round to maintain, 80 yards, area of effect is individual. Basically, this allows you to control another person's body. They basically become your marionette. That the target does know that someone's pulling the strings, though they basically, and they're probably mad as all get out, but they basically can't control their body. So they know what's happening. They just have no.
So this is
control.
lightweight dominate person.
No, because dominate person's a completely different power.
That's fair. You're actually dominating their minds.
Yeah, this one is basically you're puppeting them. You just puppet them physically. So before it works, you must engage in a psychic contest, putting the power score directly against their victim's strength. So it's just a d20 versus d20. You have to outdo them.
So
Their strength check versus your power score for the power.
Does that mean that it doesn't matter what my check number is?
Well, you still have to make your check number. You still have to, make under your power score. So, like, let's say if your power score is a 14, right? You still have to roll up to but under a 14. But if you roll an 11, your power goes off. If they roll a 12, they win. So it's kind of like a psychic contest. You still have to beat their roll, but you also have to not roll over
So
your
if
target.
they roll over
your target,
what my target is, it's not possible.
and we went over that last week in the psychic combat. Yes, defenders always win. They always win ties, and they always win if you literally can't beat them, then the power's
Okay.
out. It was over here. But I do like that. So yeah, they do know it, but you basically still get control if you win this contest. If the victim wins, they break free. If it's a tie. Oh, but in this case, unlike psychic combat, like the mental combat where the defender always wins ties, in this case, if you tie, it moves on to the next round and you continue. So the contest continues.
Oh,
So
okay.
they have to win or you have to win. Or
You have to
stick.
pick one or else you stay in that lock.
Usually, if it's a psychic contest between Psionicists or between psychic powers, it's the defender always wins ties. This case, it just moves on to the next round.
Okay.
The victim can't do anything else during the contest. All effort is focused on retaining control of their own body. So basically, even if you don't get control of their body, you're still taking them out of the game. The power works. Psionisist basically gets rudimentary control of their limbs. You can make them sit, stand, walk, turn around. They can be forced to attack physically, but you get a -6 penalty on attack rolls because you're not doing anything with their body. And the victim uses their own THAC0. The victim can't be forced to speak. In fact, they do keep control of their own voice and they can say whatever they want while it's happening.
Oh.
You just
like, guys, stay away from me. I'm not under my own control.
Yeah, it's just basic limb functions. They must stay within 80 yards of you or control is broken. If the body is forced to do something like obviously suicidal, like walk off a cliff, or go, poke a red dragon, they make another challenge to contest out. So you basically can't put them in a death situation they get a chance to force out. But if they fail, they got to do it.
What if you blindfold them? That I know that sounds like they don't know what they're about to do.
So I would say that if you just said blindfold them, hooded them, and then made them walk forward, I feel like, yes, would they know? But this contest isn't them just deciding, you know what, I don't want to do that, I'm going to contest out. It's like that whole, it's both the adrenaline of almost dying, but I also want to look at it as again, it's the intent. You're not really meant to be able.
I do.
It's suicidal, so I assume that you would say that regardless of if they know they're about to be suicidal, they just naturally
at
try
the very
to fight
least, I'd feel like this is how I do it, because they feel you trying to take over them, right? They know that someone's trying to control their body.
So they have some sort of inclination.
So what I would almost say is, I don't know if it exactly works like this, is that they can almost feel your intent. And if your intent is to make them do something, that's gonna almost.
You could do the intent, but then I just mechanics wise when I deep dive that, I just assume that takes less power away from takes more power away from the Psionisist because that's bleeding into power. I just say that even if the character didn't know, they're going to just instinctively try to fight back, and narratively, the closer they get to the cliff, the more they're going to get a chance to fight back, right? Like when you say, okay, I'm going over the cliff, narratively, they're just going to fight back. It doesn't matter that they don't know that they're going to go over the cliff. It's just instinct, right? They're constantly trying to fight back. It's just that it's not working until that moment, right? There's like a little bit of
they're always trying to regain control. It's just that's what's bringing it out of them.
And that's just how I would narratively make sure that the rules still stay consistent.
And
but
so it says if you try and get them to do something,
anything suicidal, basically,
that they have to make another check, or they
get to check out. Yeah, they get to try to check out, but it's not guaranteed. So if they fail. The basically can fight control with the contest to regain control. The adrenaline rush of imminent danger gives them a renewed strength. That's just one of the examples. So it's not a guaranteed cop-out. It just means they get to try again.
Right.
If you crit succeed, the Psionisist automatically wins the initial psychic contest. You just gain initial control. If you crit fail, the Psionisist suffers partial paralysis and arm or a leg for 1d10 turns.
That's rude.
That sucks.
All
right. Next one, Control Flame. This one should be pretty obvious. 6 initial cost, 3 per round, 40-yard range, 10 square feet area of effect. Basically, you can make normal fire bigger, smaller, hotter, or colder, and you can even make it move around as if it were a living creature. You can increase the size by 100% or decrease it by 50, so you can't snuff it. If the fire's heat is increased, it causes double damage. If it's reduced, the damage is halved. This applies to flaming torches, burning oil, or other normal fires, but not magical fires such as fireball or burning hands.
What about perhaps a breath weapon?
That's a discussion for later, because that gets into, especially, if we're talking about just the traditional breath weapon of dragons, I would say that there could be an argument made for the traditional dragon in D&D, but high point dragons, no, because they have more magic than that. Theirs is magical. And breath weapon is technically a spell, so technically most breath weapons would be considered magical, I think.
Because I'm lightweight thinking of How to Train Your Dragon, and the way that they use actual chemical stuff to they secrete
I think
certain
you can make the
things
argument from a traditional D&D standpoint, but technically breath weapon usually is considered a magical attack, so it's up for interpretation. I 100% agree.
That's fair.
DM decision. How do you run your dragons and your breath weapons? Because any non-dragon, it's magic. If it's a dragon, that's DM's decision on how that works.
Right,
My
right.
dragons, even though there are physical versions of what happens with dragons, the majority of them are primarily magical based. So all of it has a magical imbuement. But good point. Good point.
Okay.
Animated fire can move up to 90 feet per round. It can be shaped like a person or an animal as long as it covers no more than 10 square feet of ground. If the fire moves away from its fuel source, it can survive only for one more round, then it dies out. So it actually must maintain like on something that can be considered continuously burning. Animated fire can also attack by engulfing an opponent. So you basically can make it go and just tackle someone.
Give you a hug.
You must make an attack roll or using your regular Thaco. If it succeeds, the attack causes 1d6 points of damage. But it doesn't necessarily light them on fire, but every round it's engulfing them, it's 1d6. So
That would be my first question is, can you catch things on fire with this?
I would say that yes, but the caveat being that because you're kind of controlling the fire and you are attempting to contain it in that control, it would take longer to spread. It's not like you could just, like, I would say using this power, you could make your thing walk across like dry brush and only what it stepped on would singe. But if it stood there for more than one round and you wanted it to happen, you could make it like light that spot on fire, which would then naturally spread, right? I would say that because the mindset is you are literally taking the fire and like putting almost like a bubble around it to move it. It's not necessarily directly going to burn everything around it. But I would say that if you said, I want to do that, I would just add an extra round of like time, just so you can't do the thing where it's like, oh, it touched you, now you're on fire. Oh, it touched that, now it's on fire. It's more like, okay, it walks over to the drapes, it grabs it. Okay, it starts to singe. All right, next round. Okay, now it's on fire. Like,
Interesting.
I would put that there personally just to kind of ease it because you're already being able to do double damage with it. I don't think that being able to do double damage and then just light everything on fire that quickly would be beneficial.
Is double damage doubling that 1d6?
No, when you are, so the attack, when you attack with the creature, like if you're moving the fire and it attacks, it's a 1d6 of damage.
Okay.
Like as I said, you can engulf it's like a bear hug 1d6. But when this says that you can also increase by 100%, the fire's heat is increasing, causing double damage. So yeah, in that particular case, you could grab onto them and then increase it. And then you would be doing 1d12 damage or 1d6 times, whatever you want to do double damage as. And then crit success, the size can be up to 200% or decreased to 0. So you can snuff it out. And crit failure, you burn yourself and suffer 1d4 points of damage.
Oh, snap.
Not that bad.
What's the range on this?
40 yards.
Interesting.
40 yards is actually pretty far. All right, we're catching up. We're making okay time. We're making okay time.
Yeah.
All right, control light. Very, very common, right? 12 cost. Maintenance is 4 per round, 25 yards. Basically, this is going to be one of those ones, pretty obvious. You can manipulate light. You cannot create light from darkness, but you can create darkness from light. So basically, you control what light there is, but you can't create light.
Okay.
So you control, not create. Big difference. It's not create light, it's control light. So you can darken existing shadows, making them inky black. So a thief hiding in shadows would get an extra 20% on their check to stealth. So you can give it to them. Then add the other one where you make the shadows slightly bigger, right? You can lighten existing shadows, reducing their ability by 20%. So if you're looking for them, you can brighten the shadows. You can brighten a light source until it hurts to look at, giving everyone that's exposed a -2 penalty on attack rolls.
Okay.
You can dim a light source, so it resembles twinkling, like twinkle or twilight, like low light or right after sunset.
Okay.
Doesn't affect anything, but it doesn't affect attack rolls, but you could
Right.
just for that. You can extend a shadow into areas that are otherwise well lit. Only an existing shadow can be extended, but the size can be increased 200%. So, e.g., it can triple. 200% is tripling its size.
Okay.
I do like that the book throws that in there just as an example of remembering people. That's
Right.
not twice the size. That's
Exactly.
3 times. Extending the light into an area that's otherwise in shadow. Shadows can be reduced by size by 50% this way. Crit success, maintenance cost is reduced to 1 PSP per round instead of 4. Crit failure, the effect is the opposite of what's desired in the maintenance, and maintenance fails. So you try to brighten something, it darkens. If you try to darken something, it brightens, and then the maintenance fails. So after that round, it just stops. So, if you're looking for thieves, you've made it harder on yourself, and then it stops.
Rude. What's the initial cost on this?
12.
12.
Not my first choice, but for the right builds. Not one of my first choices, but for the right builds. The next one, also going to go hand in hand with this one, control sound.
Can you jump light sources? Like, say if you're walking down like a hallway and you want to like dim wherever it is that you're stepping, so people can't.
You
like,
have to
recast it every time.
Yeah, it's basically per source because it's an existing light. So yeah, you have to decide what you're manipulating each time you do it. And then you have the control of that the whole time.
I really wish there was an ability that lets you do more with shadows.
Well, actually, no, I'm sorry.
Because
the area of effect is 400 square feet. Sorry. And the range is 25 yards. So I see, this is where, okay, so let's say you're walking down a hallway and like light's coming in through windows and each beam of light. I would say that like each beam of light, that one beam of light, all 400 square feet of it is under your control.
But it's just the one beam of light.
But that next beam of light that's 10 feet away is not.
Does that mean you have to target a source of light?
That's what I'm thinking. Is like it's like if you're in a room and there is light, you can adjust, or maybe it is 400 square feet. So I would say like I think the idea again, lore-wise, right?
Yeah.
If you see the light source, if I see the candle, I can affect the candle. I'm not affecting the flame per se, but the light it's putting off.
Yes.
If I'm in a room that has light that we all can see, but we don't know where it's coming from, like moonlight from just a window we can't see from the other room, I can make the room the light that we're in dimmer, not the direction it's coming from dimmer, but what we're in. But like, so I think it's,
say you're in a room or in a cave underground and there's like glowing mushrooms all over the wall, but there's a whole bunch of tiny little glowing mushrooms. Do you get to control the entire room, or are you picking one mushroom off the wall to make an effect
I think in that particular case, it's kind of an area. It is the area of effect of 400 square feet. So I think the idea is like you can target a light source, but I think it's more intended of the area of light that you're affecting. So like there's a shadow in my closet. I can affect that shadow no matter how big it is up to 400 square feet. But that shadow is that shadow. The shadow on this side of the room is a different shadow. Mm-hmm. Whereas there is the light source here, but I can affect the light anywhere in this room.
Right.
Up to 400 square feet.
The light from there would be affected.
I can affect the light that's touching your face or my face. Even though it's the same light source, I can touch the light touching our faces, but I can't affect that shadow and that shadow over there. Like, those are the ways I would say that's how you separate it, right? Like, the light itself is one thing, but you wouldn't be able to pinpoint out things that aren't of the same source, I guess. Because again, it's controlling light. I guess the shadow is probably a bad example.
So because technically what you're doing is it's like you're reverse controlling a shadow.
Yeah, but you're only controlling like this light, right? So I could push this light into that shadow on one turn, and then I could push it into this shadow on a different round. But I wouldn't just be able to extend the light in every shadow in this room all at once. But I could dim this room all at once. Does that make more sense of what you can do with this?
So could you like brighten the entire room all at once?
You could brighten the entire room all at once, but
respectively affecting all the shadows in some way.
Not the way that I think it's intending, but yes.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Narratively, yes.
If you're trying to directly control,
like right now, there's a shadow under the couch you're sitting on. Mm-hmm. I can brighten this room, and the edge of the shadow would shift, but the shadow underneath does not. It would not change. Mm-hmm. I would have to extend the light into that shadow, which I could do with this power. But I would not be able to simultaneously extend it into there and into the shadow under my desk.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That would be a separate round. The shadow under my desk would be targeted as separately, but
it's with the same instance. It's the same instance of the power. You don't have to recast it to do that.
Yes, same instance, because I'm still controlling the same light that's in this room, in the 400 square feet. So you don't have to say I'm controlling which bulb, what light source.
So in the example that I gave walking down a hallway, you would be able to basically keep yourself in shadow throughout the entire trek down the hallway.
Yeah, because the range is 25 yards and all within all 400 square feet within that 25 yards. So yes, yes, you would technically be able to just cast yourself in an ever-moving shadow with that respect.
Interesting. That could be a vibe.
It took me a second to realize what we were talking about. Yeah. Yes, no, that's 100% true. And then so control sound, basically the same thing. Only this one's a 5 initial cost and 2 per round. It is a range of 100 yards, and there is no area of effect. Basically, you can shape and alter existing sounds, right? So you can't create sounds. It's not ventriloquism. But you could say change how a woman speaking into a lion roar, or make them sound like they're saying different words. You could disguise the sound of 20 men marching as falling rain. Sounds can also be layered so that one singing person sounds like an entire choir.
Interesting. So you know how the people do those, like, it sounds like they're speaking with multiple vocal cords all at once?
You can do that. Let's see. If the character's power check is 1, something about the sound is altered, isn't quite right. It arouses suspicion. If they're trying to exactly duplicate another voice, the fault occurs on a roll of 1 or 2. So you can also mimic a voice, but you get a 1 or 2 makes it not work. You can also dampen sound. So you can choose certain sounds that you want to like eliminate. But you have no area of effect. So, for example, you might want to quiet the sound of a hammer, muffle the words of someone who's talking, or eliminate the creaking of a door. You cannot do all 3 simultaneously. So you don't just dampen all sound, but you could be like, okay, you know what? That like dripping water, that's off.
And that's with the same maintenance cost of the same power.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of the same. It's like the area of effect.
You would pay the maintenance cost to cut off that water, but that's all you could cut off. If there's
during that
else,
round.
Well, no, period. Like that's your maintenance cost. Your maintenance cost is that's the sound I'm affecting. You don't add more sounds.
So when you cast it, you choose what you want to do.
There's no area of effect on this.
So, okay.
So you are only affecting one sound, one source. Not like light where it's all
so
of it.
In the instance of the marching in the rain, like that's the thing that you're doing.
That's the sound. The
Nothing else
is
the
sound because that's the sound that you're trying to manipulate. You're not being able to manipulate anything else, but you can take that sound and deafen it or change it. You can take someone speaking, all of the sounds that they make from them.
Got it.
That's it. So yeah, one source, but you can make those manipulations. Crit success, maintenance cost is reduced to 1 PSP per round. Crit failure, a loud boom erupts from the Psionisist location. No damage, but gives you away.
Hey.
Control wind, not a bad one.
I like how you said the end of that one and the beginning of that one, and my first thought after you said that was a loud boom at the Psionisist location. It sounded like they farted.
And then control wind.
Well, guess the winds are coming.
So this is this has an initial cost of 16 and a maintenance cost of 10 per round.
Oh gosh.
You get 500-yard range and 1,000-yard area of effect.
That's massive. All right, so you basically like tornado status lightweight.
This one has a preparation of time of 2, so 2 segments within a round. So it's one of those ones. Most of these have 0, but this one has like one of those like weird prepper times. So basically, you gain limited control over wind speed and direction. You can basically the speed of any existing wind can be decreased or increased by 10 miles per hour or 25%, whichever is greater. The direction of the wind can also be changed by up to 90 degrees. These changes are temporary, lasting only as long as you pay the maintenance cost. So not big. It's not the druid gust of wind, but if you're being tracked by dogs, not anymore. You know what I mean? Like there's a big fire, not anymore. Could do certain things. The changes occur within moments, and they will die out in less than a minute. So basically, they are very rapid. Winds above 19 miles per hour prevent anything smaller than a man or condor from flying and impose a -4 modifier on missile fire. So if you can, if you can get it up to that speed, you basically make no arrows come after you. You can stop flying creatures, all of that. They also whip up waves on the sea to make sailing difficult if you get up to 19 miles per hour. Winds gusting over 32 will cause minor damage to ships and buildings. They'll also kick up clouds of dust and prevent all but the largest of creatures from flying. Winds over 55 prevent all flight, knock down trees and wooden buildings, and threaten to swamp ships. And winds over 73 miles per hour are hurricane gales.
So you could do some cool stuff with it.
Yeah.
Does that mean you might be able to combat these winds by trying to reverse their directions? Like, say if you see a tornado kicking up and you're like, hey, I want to try and stop that.
Yeah, you can just reverse the wind, kill it. Yeah. Crit success, you gain control, total direction, or the Psionisist gains total directional control and can change speeds by up to 25 or 50%, 25 miles per hour or 50%, whichever is greater. and there is no crit fail.
Cool.
Right?
Cool.
All right, and now we get into another one that we were talking about, and the alternative, create sound. 8 initial cost, 3 per round, range is 100 yards. And then unlike the control sound, this power allows you to create the sound from silence. You can basically choose the source or location of the sound. Rocks can sing, weapons can insult, trees can sound if battle is occurring. The sound can be as soft as a whisper or as loud as several people shouting in unison. Once the sound is created, the Psionisist can control it without expending additional PSP other than the normal maintenance cost. So anything you do beyond that, you can continue to hush it, make it go up, down, change its voice. The maintenance cost is the same. As once you create the sound, you can do whatever you want with it.
Like whatever you want to the same extent that you could with the other power?
Well, like in this particular case, so like, again, like if you had a tree making battle sounds and you wanted that tree to then send a message, like tell someone something, there's no additional cost for changing it from battle sounds to a message. But the tree is the tree that you're making it come from.
Right,
and the
right.
sound is the sound you're creating, right?
Right,
so you can
right.
make the modifications, but once you created the sound, that's where it's coming from. That's where what you're doing with it. If the die roll of the character's power check is 1, the sound is not quite true and may arouse suspicion. If you're trying to mimic a specific voice, you can fail on a 1 or a 2. Created sounds cannot have any magical effects. You might duplicate a banshee's wail, for example, but it cannot harm anyone. So it sounds like a banshee's wail, but there's no effect. Crit success, sound volume can be up to that of a dragon's roar. And crit failure, a loud boom erupts near the initiator.
So, a couple of instances I'm thinking about using this. Number 1 is like, hey, I want to give you a fake conversation to listen to. Would I only be able to create one voice, or could my sound be a conversation?
You'd have to do it twice.
Okay.
So you would have to create sound once for the one voice, pay its maintenance cost. Next round, create a second sound and pay that maintenance cost, so you're paying twice. And you'd have to have this power going 2 times.
You just maintain both of them.
Correct.
Okay.
But you could continue to do that. You could continue to stack it and make it sound like any kind of conversation you wanted, as long as you could pay the maintenance cost.
And then I could use
would even
manipulate
say, like,
sound and like make it sound like there's a whole chorus of people.
And if you wanted to put some kind of limitation on that, you could say in cases like that, you can limit it to like the wisdom or intelligence modifier. You can limit it to that's how many you can have.
Okay.
If you wanted to give, this doesn't say you needed any limit. As long as you pay, like that's the beauty of the Psionisist. As long as you can pay, you can cast.
That's crazy.
So it doesn't matter how many of these voices. If you have the Psionisist, you can have 100 people in this conversation if you can fucking pay for it.
I mean, shoot.
So inertial barrier. Oh, this one's so good. Cost is 7. Maintenance is 5. Area of effect is a 3-yard diameter. So basically, this is a defense. It's a defensive shield, kind of like an elastic air around you for 3 yards.
Okay.
It's unpoppable, and basically it helps slow missiles down. Basically, anything that has momentum is going to be slowed down in this. So it's basically just a momentum shield.
So it's the anti-juggernaut.
Yeah, basically. But basically, it will do any of the following. So it kind of helps with the following. It helps protect against the following by absorbing some, if not all, of the damage.
Okay.
Non-magical missiles.
Okay.
Physical missiles, which were created, any physical missile which was created with magic. So as long as it's a physical missile, even if it was created by magic, this will stop. But not a magical missile.
Okay. So something imbued with magic, probably not, but something that you're just...
Like magic missile will go through it, but if you created an arrow with magic and then threw the arrow at me, the arrow will be affected.
Okay.
Any missile with magical pluses. So if it's a dart or if it's an arrow plus one
arrow, yeah.
Still affected.
Okay.
Flames are affected.
Okay.
Some breath weapon attacks, depending on the nature of the breath weapon. Acid, the barrier stops or slows the attack. This doesn't matter much if the acid comes from above, because then it just drips on the character.
Okay.
Gas, the barrier turns it aside, at least partially, depending on the defender's die roll. But after a turn, it will eventually work its way inside and take full effect. So it's kind of just more of a temporary.
Initial deterrent.
Falling. A Psionisist with an inertial barrier in place suffers only half damage from a fall. The barrier absorbs a lot of the impact, but the character still does get banged up.
Okay.
So it's not quite Featherfall.
But it's better than nothing.
It has no effect against the following: missiles conjured from pure magic, so magic missile.
Okay.
Raw, heat, or cold. So if you're in the desert, it's hot.
Yeah.
You know, someone tries to literally throw a torch at you or throw, a fire at you, that's one thing, but desert's desert.
Okay.
Pure energy or light.
Fair. Very fair.
Gaze weapons.
Also very fair.
It cannot keep enemies out, but it does slow them down. Anyone trying to cross the barrier must stop moving when they hit it. Then they can cross inside or outside on the next round.
Okay. That's easy enough. I like that simple mechanic.
And then it does talk a little bit more here about handling missile attacks. Basically, it zaps the energies from the missiles by tightening around them as they pass through, so the air just kind of like literally grabs it. If the missile strikes its target inside the barrier, the attacker rolls damage normally. The defender rolls the same type of die as the defender just did to see how much of the damage the barrier absorbed. The defender does not include any magical pluses to the weapon they may have. So that all doesn't happen. The defender subtracts the result of this die roll from the... Yeah, basically it's just talking about how you like resolve specific ones. But it's basically just dependent on how much you defend out and how much damage you won't take. Critical success, the barrier blocks an additional 1 point per die. And a critical failure, the Psionisist creates a bizarre wind pocket that knocks him to the ground.
Bizarre wind, that's hilarious.
Levitation is also a pretty easy one. This one kind of works like the levitation spell. So it allows you to float... Basically, it's the telekinesis on yourself. That's basically what this is. It's telekinesis on yourself.
But it's only up and down, though, right?
So a character can lift himself at the rate of 1 foot per second or 60 feet per round. The character can descend as quickly as he wants by letting himself fall or slow himself down. But that's it. It's vertical movement only. You cannot fly. It does not provide horizontal movement at all. You can push yourself off objects to get movement, but you basically drift with the wind. You can drift with the wind, but you basically only get up to 60 feet per round in a straight line, and you can't stop until you meet another solid object or you lower yourself to the ground. So you're basically just... So it's great. Bridges out, you can cast levitate and have someone push you, and then you can just float across. And then that's it. You just grab the rope, someone kicks you, you just float across the chasm, and then you drop it, you get to the other side, now you have the rope.
I've always wondered how I do like that, but how people rule it if okay, so I'm floating, but if I'm holding onto a rope and somebody's holding on to that rope, do they also start floating with me?
Oh, you mean like can you carry them?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't be able to carry them. Basically, they would pull you down.
So they would pull you down.
Yeah, you would not. They wouldn't. You were not solid enough. Levitate is only directed upon you, so any additional weight, because it basically, I think it will even say this, but basically the idea is it casts upon you and what you're wearing. Mm-hmm. Anything additional is done. So I would rule holding a rope is fine, but anything that pulls on that rope affects you. So because the same thing is I can push when you're levitating, I can push you, and you'll start going up to 60 feet per round. Mm-hmm. So if I pull on that rope with my body weight, it's the same exact thing as if I pushed you. But yeah, I do like that, you can actually use it for that. 2 other powers that can be used in conjunction, control wind or project force, can use this. So those 2 things can give you the right force against it. And then you can always levitate your own weight. Any additional objects, however, such as equipment or passengers, is a hindrance. Every 25 pounds of added weight reduces your power score by 1 point. So you can technically carry someone, but for every 25 pounds, it makes it harder to cast this. But I like that. It's showing that this isn't like magic where it's like, oh no, the levitate spell is cast on yourself only, period. Mm-hmm. I like that what they're doing here is basically saying you have to try harder. Like it is just that much harder for you, but you can. You can't, again, it's like
Does that increase your maintenance cost?
No, it doesn't.
That's impressive. Okay.
If you crit succeed, the rate of levitation is doubled to 120 feet per round. And if you crit fail, the Psionisist doubles his weight for 1 hour. If he fails, he suffers an extra D6 point, or if he falls, you suffer an extra D6 of damage.
Well, ouch.
Yeah, just a bit of an ouch. Molecular agitation. We've talked about this one a little bit before, but this one's a little bit... I like this one a lot.
Real quick, before we get too far, I meant to ask this earlier. We talked about a couple of abilities that have prerequisites.
Yes.
My question is, when you cast that ability, are you actually casting your prerequisites as well?
You're not casting the prerequisites so let me actually go over to prerequisites. We'll actually talk about that real quick because that's a good point. That's a good thing that we haven't really gone and since the first episode. Other qualified requirements about the player to do nothing else. Blah 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 blah. Recovering, gaining disciplines, devotions. Advancing, raising psionic power scores, PSP. No, it's in here.
Here we go. Got a nice little collection so far. Yeah.
Okay.
You get...
It's probably in the combat section. I probably should have just gone there first. So, here we go. One power is initiated. They can maintain that power as long as they pay the cost. Defenses, fundamental psionic powers.
There you are. All right. Stand by one moment. I will be right back.
Yeah, I still got to find out this question. One of the reasons why we don't want to do live D&D yet. It's moments like these. Moments like these where there's just going to be downtime. But I do want to figure this out because there is a section here for prerequisites. Ah, okay. Yeah, found it. Okay. No big deal. Yeah. So this is probably going to have to go into a part 4. God, I hope not a part 5. But, yeah, we're not even through. We have just this last page, and then we're into psychometabolism, which we could probably get through psychometabolism. I don't think we're cutting it off at the 2-hour mark, but we might have another part 4. I don't know. But, yes, no, the ruling prerequisites is just what you have to know. You just have to have that science or devotion known. You aren't having to. The only time that is necessary is contact. When you're doing telepathy stuff, contact's the only thing that you ever need to do first before you need to do it, before you can do anything else. Prerequisites are just the abilities you need to know. So for this, for like molecular agitation that we're about to go through, does not have any molecular manipulation, which is next, requires you to know telekinesis, but you do not cast telekinesis.
Got you.
All right. So molecular agitation, initial cost 7, maintenance cost is 6 per round, range is 40 yards, 1 item up to 20 pounds. Basically, you agitate the molecules at a subatomic level, so you can ignite paper, make wood smolder, make skin blister, or make water boil. And basically, all of this elevates per round you use it. So, in one round, readily flammable material like paper or dry grass can ignite, skin become red and tender with 1 point of damage, and wood becomes dark. After 2 rounds, wood would smolder and smoke, metal becomes hot to the touch, skin blisters have 1d4 damage, hair smolders, and paint shrivels. With 3 rounds, wood would ignite, metal scorches at 1d4 points of damage, skin burns away with 1d6 points of damage, water begins to boil, lead melts, damage does not increase after this round but just continues. After 4 rounds, steel will grow soft, and after 5 rounds, steel will melt.
I'm curious how long... So, like, a person's never going to ignite.
A person won't.
But they will continually take damage.
Yeah, you're basically just burning their skin off. So you will eventually just boil all their skin away.
So I'm curious.
at 1d6 damage at a time.
At the very beginning, it was like 1 point of damage, right?
Yep. So round 1 they take 1 point. Round 2 they would take a d4. Round 3 they take a d6, and every round after that they continue to take a d6. So it's like being lit on fire, but it takes 3 rounds to get.
So I'm curious how long it would take them to notice, because like it feels
It's
like the
instantaneous.
initial thing would feel like a mosquito bite, and they might like look at.
They probably would. I would say they probably wouldn't notice until round 2 or 3, because that's 1d4 and it blisters. But it depends on like what's going on.
Yeah.
Again, that's a narrative thing. But I would say by round
Interesting.
3 they know something's up.
They're like, oh my gosh,
their skin's on fire.
What's going on with my arm? Yeah.
Where items are concerned, allowing saving throws against destruction, but add a +10 penalty to saving throw number. The heat's quite destructive, coming from inside instead of outside. So this actually like can destroy items faster than just heating them up. Crit success, after 1 round, the rate of agitation doubles. 3 rounds of damage occurs in just 2. 5 it incurs in just 3. Crit fail, the items belonging to the Psionisist chosen at random. An item belonging to the Psionisist chosen at random is affected for 1 round.
Oh. Hope it's not your book.
Yeah. So molecular agitation, and I like the naming structure, right? Kind of gives you an idea of exactly what you expect it to be. Next one, molecular manipulation. So 6 initial cost, 5 per round, range of 15. Area of effect is 2 square inches. You do need telekinesis for this one. And basically it allows you to weaken the bonds, the molecular bonds of a structure, and basically allows you to put stresses on an object. So when someone stresses the object or strikes a blow to it, it can snap and break. So you can create a breaking point approximately 2 square inches per round, so you can make it grow. Deterioration occurs across a plane in 2 dimensions, not 3. So it's basically like a crack through an object. 1 round is enough to fatally. 1 round's work is enough to fatally weaken most small objects like a sword, a rope, a saddle, strap, a belt, a bow. Bowstring. Larger objects require more time at the DM's discretion.
Okay.
So if you're trying to if it's a rope bridge, you could use this to just cut the rope bridge without a knife. But if you want to destroy someone's like armor or a sword, like it would take a little bit more. DM must decide how vulnerable this power makes larger, oddly shaped objects. So like a shield, like at what point does the shield actually become compromised? A little boat, a crack in a small boat may be unsafe at sea, so you wouldn't have to do a lot to finally make it unseaworthy, right? But a little shield, like a shield having a tiny little crack won't do as much. You have to get it like halfway. So small differences, but it depends upon the application.
Right.
And then if the successive blows don't shatter it, they will certainly rattle the holder's arms. So it's like even if you make a small enough crack in a shield, it may still work as a shield, but over time it is going to deteriorate still. You are going to make it worse over the battle. Power successful or a successful crit success, weakening occurs at twice the rate. And a crit failure, the item is strengthened. Now it requires twice the normal effort to weaken.
I like that. I really do like that. So my question first off is, how noticeable is this?
In this particular case, it's not. So it's like you wouldn't see a crack forming in the shield until something happened to it. You wouldn't know the sword's about to snap. You wouldn't know, you would probably see the rope starting to at some point it would start to snap pieces, but it's not like you're actively cutting it with an invisible knife. You're actually making it weaker until the point, kind of like if you pull a rubber band, and you just keep pulling until it finally snaps. Mm-hmm. You don't really keep seeing it stretch. It just, there's a point where it just snaps. That's kind of what you're doing. You're putting internal stress on it until it just weakens and falls apart.
Could you do this out of combat?
Absolutely. All of these are out of combat.
Because it feels like they're putting the round restriction on it to make it harder to complete. Right? But if I'm doing this out of combat and
then it's just a cost value. That's the whole point about psionics. In combat, the maintenance cost is a combination of deterrence for amount of PSP, but it's also to balance how it would work in combat, right? You don't want to just be able to start burning someone's armor right out the gate with agitation, right? But at the same time, with the 5 per round, if you're doing it out of it, a round is still a decent amount of time. So it's actually a very small amount of time if you really think about it. So if you're really trying to do something out of combat, it's technically, I think it's going to be more pricier because what you're doing out of combat would relatively usually take longer. In combat, you're trying to do quick little things like, take a belt off, burn them real quick. Whereas if you're trying to get through like a steel door, might take you an hour.
What type of effects do you think this has on magical weapons? Does it specifically say anything about...
It doesn't, but I would say that if someone's having a magical sword, you're not going to weaken that sword to breaking with this. Like, the magic would save it. Like, if you have a magical shield, the shield's like, yeah, I would probably put a limit on the fact that this can break something physically, but a magically enhanced item is going to take more, right? Like, it's just sturdier in a lot of different senses.
More as in different type of magic, not like just you doing it longer.
Or it may just be that you have to do it longer. Maybe the idea would be it's either takes 3 times as long, or you have to bump this up before you can affect magic equally.
Okay.
Because again, I don't like even though I change things with second edition when it comes to psionics, I don't like changing what they have in terms of like the maintenance costs and all of that. I don't like manipulating that because I like the balancing. But in cases like that, to me, it makes more sense to just say it will take longer to weaken a magical item. So it'll take 3 rounds. So for every 1 round of normally it'll take 3. So that's tripled the cost in order to affect magical items. I don't think that's a bad idea. You know what I mean? That takes, triple the time in combat. It's way bigger of a risk value to do anyway.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
those are the kind of questions that I do like, but it's those that I've not really like broken down into every situation. But yeah, I would work with
fair.
the opportunity to do it. It's just, again, all of these are subject to the idea that these are at face value supposed to be what they are at face value.
For sure.
All right, next one. The last one of psychokinesis. Soften. A little bit different than molecular manipulation, which was kind of more making stress points. So soften, 4 initial, 3 per round, 30-yard range, and 1 object 10 pounds or less. And basically it resembles molecular manipulation, except it weakens the entire object instead of a small angle, like a small plane. So instead of creating a small crack, this is the entire object is weakening. So 1 object up to 10 pounds. The object softens overall, losing its rigidity and strength. Specifically effects effects vary depending on material. So metals, for each round of softening, weapons incur a -1 penalty to attack rolls and cause 1 less point of damage cumulatively. So every round you do it, you're taking off 1 each time. The armor class of metal armor increases 1 point per round of softening. In second edition, higher
Increasing
armor
is bad, yeah.
After 10 rounds, any metal becomes soft and rubbery, but retains its shape. Wood. Like metal, weapons with wood shafts or handles suffer a -1 to attack and damage per round of softening. After 6 rounds, wood becomes stringy and rubbery, but retains its shape. After 10 rounds, the grains can be split easily, and a punch can break through even the hardest and thickest doors or chests. Stones. After 2 rounds... Stones. After 2 rounds, stone becomes noticeably soft to the touch. After 5 rounds, it can be worked like stiff clay, but that's as soft as it'll get. That's as soft as it'll get. Magic items. Save versus crushing blow to escape the effect entirely.
Interesting. Okay, so you
living
can just...
tissue is no effect.
Okay, that's fair.
DMs can use their own judgment and examples above to handle other materials. So, again, magical items takes quite a bit.
So this one specifically mentions magical items where the other one didn't.
Yeah, this one save versus crushing blow to escape the effect entirely.
Okay.
And then critical success, all effects are doubled. Critical failure, the item is strengthened and can't be affected again until the Psionisist gains a level.
Bet.
Yep.
Bet.
And that was all of psychokinesis. So all of the, moving stuff outside of you.
Okay.
All right, so that only took us 2 hours. That's actually not too bad. 2 hours for that whole thing. We could probably, we have psychometabolism next. This one's going to be pretty meaty because this one has a lot of fun stuff, but it's not nearly as long. I think we could probably go through this because then we'll have psychoportation.
That one, truly, I'm super excited for.
Telepathy.
Also.
And metapsionics are last.
Okay.
So we have 3 after this. So yeah, if we can get these 2 down, we can probably get the 3 next week.
Let's do
I
it.
wanted to get finished tonight. I just don't know if we want to go 7 hours.
Yeah, it might be a little hefty. I might get in trouble later.
Yes, but how is that going, by the way?
No word yet. We're
Cool.
doing all right.
All right, well, hopefully we can finish this. Hopefully we won't keep anybody waiting. So, psychometabolism. This is the one that I originally mistook for Metapsionics.
What Alo had?
I always called this one Metapsionics, but psychometabolism is the one I really like. Like, this is probably the divination. Like, I love all of it, but this is probably the divination that really got me thinking about psionics first, and then when I saw everything else, that's what it became my
It was like, all right, no,
favorite. This is really where you start to get like some cool shit. So starting off with the psychometabolism sciences, animal affinity, number 1. Initial cost 15, maintenance cost is 4 per round. And basically, when you first learn the power, you can develop an affinity for a particular type of animal. You cannot choose the animal. The affinity is selected by your aura. You basically have a roll table. And it's a D20 roll table. From that point on, whenever you interact whenever you invoke this power, you can claim one of the animal's attributes as your own. So kind of almost like a partial wild shape for druids. And it's only temporary. So you gain the animal's armor class, their movement rate or mode, their attacks and damage, their THAC0, their hit points, or any other of their special abilities. So you basically just say, I want that from that, and that's what you get while this power is active.
Theoretically, if you got a bird, could you just give yourself wings?
We'll get into that.
Interesting.
Only one of these can be used at a time. So only one of their characteristics at a time.
Okay.
The effect lasts as long as you pay the maintenance cost. Switching into a different ability means paying the initial cost of the power again, making a new power check.
Okay.
So one ability, one at a time. The character does undergo a physical change when the power is invoked. The extent of the change depends on the animal. For example, adopting a hawk's movement obviously requires wings, while attacking like a tiger calls for claws and fangs.
Okay.
So yes, you can fly.
Okay.
You get... I'm just going to rush through these. There's 20 of them. Sorry if I run through these fast, but these are all of the options for 1 through 20. Ape, barracuda, boar, bull, crocodile, giant eagle, elephant, falcon, griffin, grizzly bear, lion, panther, draft horse, peregrine falcon, rattlesnake, giant scorpion, shark, stag, tiger, wolf. So most of those, if not all, have a physical attack, like a physical weapon, like claws, bite. Can you imagine being an elephant and getting a trunk and just slapping somebody?
Even though if you're a shark, just being on land, give me his teeth. Let me bite you, like, bro.
That's my point. Or imagine being able to be like, I'm up against bludgeoning damage. Let me just get the shark skin. Like that really tough rubbery shark skin. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Oh, you push me in the water? Oh, just take some gills. I'm fine.
See? Clean.
Yeah.
Very clean.
Crit success. Character gains 2 abilities instead of 1.
Fire.
But remember,
Straight fire.
if you can keep casting the initial cost and maintaining it, you can just add more abilities.
So
every new ability is a new initial cost.
At the beginning, it did say you can only do 1. Does that mean
one animal? You only get 1 animal in the very beginning.
Oh, that's all it means.
You become an affinity with 1 animal, and then this is the animal you get points from. But just like any power, you pay the initial cost and activate the power. As long as you do the maintenance cost, that power stays active. If you want another power, it's a new initial cost and a new power check.
What's the maintenance cost on this one?
4 per round. 15 initial.
That's not bad.
Crit fail. The character's skin takes on the appearance of the animal's skin until the power is used again successfully. No change in AC. Until the power is used again. That means just permanently your skin's like that until you activate this power.
That depending on what my animal is, I might keep it that way for a little bit.
Right? You just go panther. You just go like straight like just fur everywhere, and you're just like, I like that. Yeah.
I bet, man. That's kind of cool.
All right, another great one, complete healing. This one is where you start to get some like OP shit. Power initial cost is 30. Preparation time is 24 hours. Basically, once you master this power, you can be cured of all ailments, wounds, or normal diseases. You basically get put in a trance for 24 hours to accomplish this, so it does take a full day. You can't be disrupted at all, or you will lose 5 or more hit points if you are disturbed. And when you use the power, your body repairs itself to an incredible rate. At the end of 24 hours, you will awaken, restored to complete health in every regard except for the 30 PSP you expended to do this. If your check fails, your trance breaks after only 1 hour, having realized that the power was not working.
Thank God. Oh my gosh.
Only 5 PSP will be expended.
Okay.
Crit success, healing occurs in just 1 hour.
Fire.
Crit failure, they awaken after 24 hours to discover that the attempt failed. You expend 5 PSP.
Disrespectful. It's 30 initial cost, right?
Yeah.
And it's no maintenance, and you just pay it at the end.
Yeah, you pay it and 24 hours. And you get all ailments, basically basic diseases, ailments, wounds.
Limbs.
No.
Okay.
Basics.
Got you. So again, I know you and I specifically have talked about this, about how D&D doesn't exactly represent what healing looks like, because to be honest, this just sounds like a long rest. Lightweight.
So this one covers things because second edition had a lot more to do with like diseases. Mm-hmm. So ailments and diseases, it won't do curses or anything, but if you are dehydrated, starving, not anymore. If you're exhausted, I would say that this would do something. If you have exhaustion in your realm, this undoes exhaustion. If you have a broken limb, undoes broken limbs.
Okay.
If you have an ailment, like let's say you have you're bruised or whatever, and you have restricted movement, gone. If you have something that you need to have an in-game cure for that's natural, gone. No getting the material components, no going to a shaman. Much more narrative purposes, but yes, it is a long rest because typically you'll get all your health points back. Mm-hmm. But this is to extend into those things that are not within a normal rest. This is just 30 PSP and you get everything. If you have a temporary loss of strength for an ailment, gone. So, and I think it's mainly supposed to focus on the fact that it's like for diseases. Mm-hmm. But if you only have 30 PSP, in one day you have everything back. Remember, because you don't gain all your PSP back like instantaneously.
Yeah.
So it's like that's really a refresh of anything and everything that you've lost. You won't grow a limb, but a broken bone.
You'll get all your other PSP back, and you'll just only be down 30.
Correct.
So if you only had 30 left when you went into this,
this is what you would want to do.
If you had 5, if you had less than 30, could you initiate this power?
No. You have to have because even though you could technically, like some powers, they have a crit success of having less, you can't initiate a power.
If you don't have the cost.
Yeah, you have to always be able to pay the initial cost to even try. But yeah, so with this one, it's I think this one just, you're supposed to focus on the ailments and disease. Because yes, you're going to, or
no,
later down the road though, not everyone can get all their hit points back if you have a lot of hit points. Like not everybody can get those back. Like in a short rest. Now, granted, 24 hours, but it's just definitely one of those. It's more about what's affecting your character than it is about the life. Because you're right. And normally, it wouldn't work for that.
No. I like it. This is actually one that I really enjoy.
You'll enjoy this next one.
Oh, okay.
Because we're going the complete opposite side of that coin. With Death Field.
Okay.
Initial cost is 40. The area of effect is 20 yards radius.
20 yards?
20-yard radius.
Goodness.
So, Deathfield is a life-sapping region of negative energy. Only Psionists of evil alignment can learn this power without suffering side effects. If other Psionists tries to learn the Deathfield, their alignment will gradually be twisted towards evil as they explore this very dark portion of the psyche. It's basically their version of dark magic, man. Successful Deathfield takes its toll on everyone inside, including the Psionicists. The range is 0, by the way. So it is.
You casted it on yourself.
Range is 0. Area of effect is 20. Before you initiate the power, you must decide how many hit points you will sacrifice. If the power works, the loss is inevitable, and you get no saving throw. Every other living creature within the death field must make a saving throw versus death. Those who succeed escape death or escape damage. Those who fail lose the same number of hit points as the Psionisist. For the weak, that can mean death. So later down the road, when you have 300 points, if you somehow have 200, 300 hit points and you go, everyone on the field, 100 hit points, gone. Because you could just sacrifice 100 hit points and just everyone on the battlefield
is power word
within
kill.
20-yard radius can just boom.
That is a 20-yard radius power word kill, like mass power word kill.
Because power word kill targets anyone under 100, and if you had 100 hit points to spare. Now, what's also cool about this is imagine the cool narrative of like the last ditch effort. Your character's like, man, the BBG's almost down, half my team's dead, you know, they're all pushed over there. I'm like, well, I'm about to die anyway. I got nothing else. How many hit points do I have left? How many hit points does he have left? Let's go. just literally sacrifice yourself. Just kill yourself to just wipe out the enemy, dude. That would be so dope.
Give yourself 1 hit point.
You could totally walk
hanging
away.
on for dear life, crawling. Maybe you'll survive.
Yeah, you could walk away from that. So, crit success, the Psionisist loses only half the number of hit points you specified. Victims who fail lose the full amount. And crit failure, the power fails, the Psionisist loses the hit points anyway.
Rip. Sucks to suck.
But that one, dude, like I said, this is the area that really caught my attention. I'm like, wait a second, I can do fucking what now? You want to talk about, like, we've talked about battlefield control, but this, like, I'm hoping this is also showing you kind of like, I'm seeing now when we've talked about balancing and like combat control, battlefield control, action economy, I see why second edition like has influenced me so much in just the way that like I think and why I like second edition, just because again, this kind of balancing makes sense, right? It's in that situation of balancing doesn't always mean that a good has to come with a bad and vice versa. Balancing just means that the choice has to be a choice, right? I look at it, something's not balanced when the choice is obvious. When it's
I definitely agree
that
on that
benefit
point.
Versus that negative, there's no reason I wouldn't. You know, when we have a cursed item and it's like, you can get all of these cool things, but what's the curse? Oh, once a day you fart really loud. Like, who fucking cares? Give me the extra AC and the 10 times HP. I don't care if I fart once a day. Like, there's certain things where it's like, balance to me means that the aspect of use has to come with the thought of, is it worth it? And if you're not questioning whether it's worth it in that moment, if it's just an automatic, I should just do it, then to me it's not balanced, right? That's at least my a very doled down version of what I think of balance. But yeah, Deathfield, awesome. I think Deathfield is just such a cool concept of just being able to just blast it out. All right, next one, energy containment. Cost of 10. With this power, you basically can safely absorb and assimilate energy from electricity, fire, cold, heat, and sound energy that would fry, freeze, or otherwise harm a normal character. Any physical assault based on these energy types can be drawn into the Psionisist's body, and they can transform the energy and safely and release it as a visible radiant light. So this effect protects the Psionisist against energy attacks. The Psionisist makes a successful power check. They can double the result of their die roll when saving against energy attacks. So you basically get double the save against them. If you make a successful save, you suffer no damage from the attack at all. If it fails, you still only suffer half damage. When the character absorbs energy, they will radiate visible light for the number of rounds equal to the points of damage absorbed.
So you basically become one of those little, those glowing toys. What do you call them? Yeah,
that's just crazy. For every point of damage, that's how many rounds you're going to glow. That's insane.
That could be for a minute. That could be for a while.
This glow is definitely noticeable, but it is soft. It illuminates no more than an area of 2-yard radius. So it's not like you're a torch.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people know that there's a glow about you. Literally.
That's crazy.
Crit success. All saves against energy attacks automatically succeed during the round which the power was in effect.
Okay, so if you have more...
There's no maintenance. It's you activate it for the round.
So, one more time. Is this power like a reaction to getting attacked, or is this...
So you activate it at the initial cost, and you can safely absorb and assimilate energy. So let's see. So
So is this something that I cast on myself in preparation for going into a fight where I think I'm going to take damage? Or is this something I only activate once I take damage? Let me see.
So I think the idea is, you would activate this in a round, and basically until the start of your next turn, you have this protection. So it's kind of a 1 round protector. So it's you can keep it up every round by just charging it, but it's intended to protect you for the whole round, unless you, because if you crit success, everything's automatically saved for that round. And if you crit fail, you become an energy attractor for 1 turn. All saves and energy attacks fail, causing full standard damage. So you basically just automatically. So what I think it is it like, this is one of those design where if you're in an environment of one of these things, or if you are up against like an elemental, you could basically activate this, and for that round kind of have a resistance against their attacks.
So it's really only useful when you know that you're going to take at least some type of this damage.
Because it's specifically against energy damage, electricity, fire, cold, heat, and sound energy. So
like thunder damage.
Yeah. So yeah, you could say that if you're in certain planes, you could say that this could, help you exist in those planes, or if you're up against an elemental or a wizard of that, school. This is definitely much more of a premeditated. I would like to have seen this even have a huge cost, but it is a little bit weird because it's not like it's not like a reaction or anything.
What's the maintenance?
There is no maintenance. It's just a one time.
So it's just the one round.
Yeah.
And how much is it?
It's 10.
It's 10.
So yeah, it's very.
So if you want to spam it, if you want to use it over,
it's
and
very
over again,
situational. It's definitely when you know it's going to happen.
Okay.
And I guess if you had like a prepared action, you could prepare this action if you get targeted, and then cast it as a reaction. So there's always that. Second edition
very
does have,
interesting.
Yeah, prepared actions work just like reactions. So.
And unlike, so when you do that with spells, at the very least in 5th edition, if you prepare a spell and it doesn't go off, you lose it.
Yeah.
Would you say the same is true for something like this? If you prepared this, would you treat it as like you just wasted that PSP?
Well, I would treat it as you could prepare it as in you don't take your action to activate this power. You're going to wait to do it as a reaction. You would be able to do that, but you would still have to roll to succeed. And if you fail, you would do it would just not work like any other
But
power.
if it didn't go off, you wouldn't waste any resources. If whatever would have triggered it didn't trigger it, you won't waste any PSP.
Yeah, by holding it, you only would waste the PSP if you tried to activate it. If nothing activated it, then you just, again, a held action is a held back action. You're just not doing it on your turn.
But
you're waiting for the cue, but you're not taking the action, you're waiting to take the action.
So that's how, again, 5th edition articulates spells. So when it comes to a held spell, you've already cast the spell.
But that's different because spells take a casting time. So the idea is that you've cast the spell and you're waiting
cast
for it
the
to
spell
go
during
off.
the action.
This
and
is you saying, I'm not taking action. I'm going to wait. And if this happens, I will then use my action. Because on your turn, you're basically saying, I'm going faster than everybody else. I'm reacting faster. But you can decide wait to react.
In the example of, we were talking about one of the spells earlier that takes 2 rounds to prepare.
Yes.
Right? You wouldn't be able to hold that action because you would still need the 2 rounds.
You'd be able to, you would have that. You would be able to prepare it, but it would still take the 2 rounds to fully go off. So your preparation wouldn't matter. Your preparation would kind of be null and void because it does take casting time.
But you couldn't wait the 2 rounds and then hold off on the execution of it until you felt like it.
No, okay. that doesn't have, unless you have a meta psionic that can let you do that, which I think there is a meta psionic that lets you do that with these specifically.
Interesting.
But no, normal psionics, once you've activated them, because it's ability, it's not a spell, you just activate
it just happens.
That, right?
Yeah.
It's like saying can you pre-jump before you jump? right? Like you can't.
I mean, I can squat. I can get ready to jump.
Yeah, but you can't actually like do the jump and hold the inertia for when you want it. Okay, that was energy containment, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Life draining. Initial cost of 11, maintenance cost of 5. Range is touch. And basically, you can drain hit points from another character and use it to recover your own. And it's at a rate of 1d6 per round. And you can absorb up to 10 more hit points than your healthy total. But the bonus only lasts 1 hour, so it's 10 HP.
So you can overheal a little bit.
You can get 10 HP extra at max, and it lasts for 1 hour. After that, you will still has more hit points than he should. So basically, yeah, you just get 10 HP for 1 hour, then it goes away.
Okay.
And you can only ever have more than 10. And then crit success, the rate is 20 d20 per round instead of a d6. And if you crit fail, backfire, half of your remaining hit points are absorbed by the target.
Half?
Your remaining.
Oh, golly. I mean, you're obviously using it because you're down hit points, so it's not like you're going to be maxed.
But still, yeah, you just lose half your... And they get it. They get healed.
That's crazy. Now, well... So, a couple of questions. I'm curious if... I mean, obviously they know something's happening to them, but... Again, with psionics, it's for the most part you can't tell who's doing it to you.
You would like if you grab someone by the wrist, they would feel bad. They'd obviously know it was you. But if you like were just in a crowded place and you just touch somebody, they'd feel terrible.
Is this a touch?
It's touch.
Oh,
yeah. They would feel terrible. They would probably feel like the icy hand of death upon them. But would they know it's you? No, they'd know someone grabbed them. But like the idea of you could hide it, but at the same time they know death is on them if this is happening, right? Like I imagine it's literally if it's not physical pain, you just know, right? Like that's not a feeling that you would just go, oh, I feel fine.
It's just chilling. It's fine.
But yeah, I just that's one of again. This is that section that I'm just like, man, there's so much options. And remember, my very first Psionisist was a vampire. So also keep that in mind that my first Psionisist was a vampire. So add a vampire's abilities on top of this shit.
That's some shit.
Like vampires, I mean, being able to control people, and I'm a vampire, and I can get into your head that much easier with contact, and then I can persuade you to let me feed off of you. The fact that I can do this shit, like,
yeah,
I literally doing a psionic vampire basically gives you the ideal vampire in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, lightweight.
It gives you everything you need to be the ideal vampire.
Golly, that would be crazy. That would be crazy.
Let's see. Metamorphosis. Cost of 21. Maintenance 1 per turn. Not 1 per round. 1 per turn, but cost of 21 initial. Basically, it resembles polymorphing, but it has a much wider application. You can change yourself into anything with approximately the same mass as your body. A wolf, a condor, a chair, a rock, a tree. While in this form, you retain your own hit points and THAC0 if possible. But you gain the armor class of the new form. You also gain all physical attacks the new form allows, but no magical abilities or special abilities. It depends on the new form. Like a tree can't attack, so attacks are meaningless.
Right.
Like any massive shape change, however, this causes physical stress. The Psionisist must make a system shock roll to survive the change. If the roll fails, he does not die, but the PSP are expended and he passes out for 2d6 turns.
Instead of changing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you crit succeed, the system shock roll automatically succeeds, and a new form's mass can be up to 3 times the Psionisist's. And if you crit fail, the Psionisist must save first.
I said so a big ass tree.
Or a giant boulder.
Yep.
If you crit fail, the Psionisist must save versus paralyzation. Failure means he changes into the new form permanently.
But are you still a Psionicist?
Yes. So you have to use the power again to come back out.
Okay.
But the problem is you can come back out as long as you maintain. Once you stop maintaining, so you have to use the power again to fail. You have to hope to fail the next time you use this power.
Not just fail, crit fail.
And basically that's the rest of your life is literally just trying to turn back into human. Can you imagine?
You better not try to turn into anything else.
Can you imagine the NPC that you meet that is like that, who's literally his entire eons of life has been trying to turn back into human after being transformed into something, and it just never fucking works. And then every time he's just like, fine, I'll turn into this, and then he crit fails and goes, motherfucker. It's like, you know what I've been? I've been a rock. I've been a sign. I've been a toilet.
Golly. Yo, that would be very interesting. Imagine somebody got cursed to basically roll a 1 anytime they tried to turn into something that isn't their original form.
That would suck. That would definitely suck. And that's the thing too. It's like with this, it's like I like that it is more powerful than polymorph, but it comes with a bigger potential risk. Where are we at? Okay, we're doing a good time. Next one, scary. Good one here. Shadow form. Cost of 12, maintenance of 3 per round.
Now we're talking about shadows again. Don't get me excited for nothing.
Using the power actually transforms yourself into a living shadow, along with your clothes, armor, and up to 20 pounds of equipment. You can blend perfectly into other shadows and travel with a movement rate of 6. You can only travel through darkness and shadows, and areas of light are impassable. While in shadow form, the Psionisist can be detected only by life detection, other types of psychic detection, or by true seeing. You cannot harm anyone physically or manipulate any corporeal objects, but you can still use your psionic powers. If you roll a 1 on your power check, he becomes shadow, but none of his clothes or equipment make the switch.
Disrespectful. Does that mean you still have to pay the maintenance cost to keep it up?
Yep.
Okay.
But if you don't, it stops.
Okay.
Crit success, you gain all desirable powers of a shadow monster for 1d4 turns.
Wait, what?
If you crit fail, the player must roll a save versus lightning for the Psionisist's most valuable item. If it fails, the item becomes shadow and drifts away, lost forever.
I thought the crit fail was your clothes don't transform.
No, so remember.
That's the regular fail.
Yeah, that's
your regular fail.
So because again, so normally again with second edition, 20s were crit failures.
Yeah.
1 was a standard failure.
No, yeah, I remember that.
And then the power score is your crit success.
Yeah, no,
so
I
when I
remember
say
that
crit
too.
success, it's 20. When I say crit fail, it's 1. But yeah, the when you roll basically like a 2.
Yeah, so there are the 4 things. You have a crit success, a crit failure, a regular failure, and a regular success.
Yeah.
That's all I really care about. I don't really care what roll gets it.
Exactly.
I just want to know, like, when you get a crit success, this is what happens.
Exactly.
When you get a crit failure, this is what happens. So
and then you just have
a
the
regular failure is just your clothes don't transform, but you're still a shadow.
You transform.
A crit failure is one of your items turns into a shadow, like
and
guaranteed.
Is lost forever.
Is it guaranteed that it is, or is there a chance that
the player must roll a save versus lightning for one of your most valuable items? If you fail, it's lost forever.
Okay.
So it gets
is
saved.
the DM choosing what your most valuable item is?
No, it is the most valuable item.
Oh,
Hands down.
just like strictly like
Your
price wise.
It says most valuable. That's up for interpretation of whether it's gold value or not. Because I mean, if you have like 3 gold on you, or if you have like 100 gold gem versus like, you know, a tiara of wish or like a ring of wish, it's going to be the ring of wish that goes away. Like, value is subjective, but let's face it, like, it's going to be, there's not going to be much of an argument of what's the most valuable thing you're holding. Now, value does not necessarily mean value to the player though. Like, if you had a 10,000 GP gem, a ring of 3 wishes that's fully charged, and like a psionic tiara that boosts your psionic abilities that was like a family heirloom given to you by your dad in your backstory before you died, and it's like the cornerstone of your whole character, that was not going to be the value we're looking for. That's very, very valuable to the player and to the character, not necessarily the most valuable that you own. I would say the wish ring,
if it's fully charged with all 3, yeah,
that's more valuable than a 10,000 GP gem in my opinion, right? But
if it had 1, maybe it'd be comparable. But
yeah, my thing is, I get like,
you.
Valuable is subjective, but it would be reasonably the most valuable
for sure.
But yeah, shadow form is really kind of cool. I love like the shadow step, just being able to travel.
See, so my thought process is, all right, we've already talked about being able to control light. We've already talked about being able to control other people's shadows and just shadow in general. Now, granted, that's a lot of PSP, but what did you say the maintenance cost for that was?
3 per round.
I mean, it's not a
So
whole
imagine
lot.
this: you hop into your buddy's shadow, and he just walks around, and you just sit with him, literally just backing him up as a psionicist, and no one ever knows. There's two of you, and you're just sitting in there in his shadow, walking next to him, talking to him, giving him info, looking at, basically being eyes behind the back of his head kind of shit. And again, like you said with control light, you can manipulate other shadows. So if there's light blocking you, you can manipulate a shadow to give you a bridge.
Because you can be, yeah, exactly. You can be in any shadow. It doesn't have to be just one. It'd
well,
be
like
like
touched. Yeah, you can't transfer.
But that's what I mean. It's
But
just
yeah,
like
you can control
it
light.
doesn't matter it doesn't matter whose shadow it is. It just matters that it's a shadow. And
that's
so
what, like, do you see why I love Psionisist, man? It's like the more you build these layers, like the more that really opens up to you with how much you can do with this. And again, you open up to be able to do so many powers by like
and
level
even
10.
if somebody sees some creepy stuff happening with shadows, what are they going to do? Rub their eyes, look at it again, and when it's just a shadow, they're going to be like, "What the freak am I smoking, bro?"
Exactly.
It's like there's nothing there. Okay. So, can you read back what it said about being detected?
You can only be detected by life detection, psychic detection,
Okay.
or true scene.
That answers, because I was like, what if, like you do, you scan the room?
You'll
for
know
contact.
someone's there, but you won't be able to see where they are. But they'll be able to detect you.
So when you because you could technically find invisible creatures that way. You can technically
They're there, but you can't find them.
Okay, see, that's my question.
Yeah.
You have no idea where
The
they're
psionic
located.
contact, the presence of psionic abilities. The psionic mind is somewhere, but you have no idea who it is.
So, do you have a range on it? Do you know how close or far away they are? Can you tell if they're right next to
They're
you or
within
if they're
your
across the
range.
room?
Just within your range.
Interesting.
But the severity is null because they're protected.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, so that was all of the sciences. So we're already on the devotions. We're making really good time.
Okay.
That only took us a half hour to get through those sciences.
What was that last one that we were just talking about?
That was shadow form.
Shadow form.
All right, psychometabolic devotions. First one. Again, talking about being a supportive character. Absorb disease. Cost of 12 and a range of touch. So we talked before about what does complete healing benefit you. So let's say your entire team got inflicted with diseases or one disease. You can absorb disease from all of them and then go bust out complete healing, and you just healed your whole team of all of that. So absorb disease, you basically can take the disease from another character's body and absorb it. Presumably, you'll then heal yourself using complete healing. That literally says that in the book.
That's freaking hilarious.
This power cannot absorb magical diseases, but this power can absorb magical diseases, but not curses such as lycanthropy. Crit success, the disease is automatically destroyed by the psionicist's immune system.
Fire.
Crit failure, the disease remains in the victim while spreading to the psionicist.
Ooh.
But again,
Rip.
complete healing, and
I mean, yeah.
sucks to be you.
Well, I tried.
Adrenaline control. Cost of 8, maintenance of 4. Basically, you can control your adrenaline and give yourself temporary physical boosts on demand. When you increase your adrenaline, the character gains a d6 of points. So you roll a d6, you get 1 to 6 points.
Okay.
Which you can add directly to strength, dex, or constitution scores whenever you choose, as long as you're maintaining the cost.
Scores.
You enjoy the normal bonuses for high physical attributes while the power is in effect. So, let me see. Yeah, so if you have like a 12 strength and you roll a d6 and get 3, you can have a 15 strength for the duration.
So, do you have to just pick one, or can you move it around for the duration?
So when you increase the adrenaline, you gain the d6. Then you can add that directly to one of the 3. You enjoy the normal bonuses for high physical attributes while the power is in effect. So once you've chosen, they're
that's
stuck
what it
while
is.
you're maintaining it. So basically, you activate it, roll your d6, apply them, and then you get that temporarily.
So if you want to go into a drinking contest, use this for your constitution. If you want to go to arm wrestling contest, use this for your strength. Okay.
If you fail, you'll tax your system with adrenaline. You still get the boost, but you lose twice as many hit points.
Hit points. When are you losing hit points?
So if you fail, when you do your power check, if you fail, you'll still get the boost, but you lose twice as many hit points during the duration. So
How many hit points would you normally be losing?
It depends on if you get attacked. Like if you're in combat,
got you. I see what you're saying.
Suffer twice as much damage.
Got you. Oh, okay.
And that's just because your adrenaline's just making you bleed out.
Yeah.
You could just call it probably bleeding out. And then a
That's
critical
fair.
fail, you must make a successful system system shock or roll, or suffer 50% loss in current HP and pass out for 1d8 hours.
Yeah, that's danger zone.
But that's basically a low-key version of rage.
I mean, yeah, lightweight.
It's kind of their own, like, you don't get any of the resistances, but being able to bump your strength, your dex, or your constitution, like, that shit can help.
Especially if you're dex build.
Oh, absolutely. This next one. Aging. Initial cost 15. Range of touch. With this power, an evil Psionisist can cause unnatural aging by touch. Other Psionicists use this power too, but their alignment would begin to twist towards evil. The victim ages 1d4 years instantly and must make a saving throw versus polymorph. Failure means the change was traumatic and they age another year automatically. If the Psionisist's power check is failure, there is a backlash and he too ages 1d4 years.
So it still technically works. So that's a regular failure. That's a regular failure. It works on both of you. Okay.
Crit success, the victim ages 1d20 years. Crit failure, Psionisist ages 1d10 years.
So basically just be an elf, and then you won't care.
Yep. Or a vampire.
Or a vampire. Yep.
Because you know how great that is for a vampire to age? Especially when you play with the rules.
Don't you become more powerful as you age?
Typically. And on top of that, it takes like usually 100 years per one physically. So for every 100, you'll age physically 1 year. So what's a handful of these, especially
I didn't even
when
realize. I actually thought vampires were age locked at the point of turning. Like
most people that's like real lore. Most people like that's most of it. I add the idea that they age over time in terms of just it's an extremely slow metabolic
that way
rate.
you can actually tell when someone's an old vampire. It's like,
Yeah,
you know, you're
the older
true-
they are, the more powerful your powers become with age. So, a vampire with psionics, this is primarily one of my main, like when I was playing that my character Rena, this was one of her primary attacks. She would just go into battle, just claws out and just activate this and just try to fucking slash people because that was awesome. She had another ability where she could also like absorb the age that she took. So there was other things that she could do with it.
That's crazy.
But yeah, she would just go out with this because if she aged, it didn't fucking matter because she would just get more powerful as she aged doing this, but she would never
Please
change.
and thank you.
Yeah. So this was just like a go-to power because it was like, I'm fine with this. Biofeedback. This is one when I think, whenever I think of this particular divination, this is the one that always comes to mind. Initial cost is 6, 3 per round for maintenance. It's basically the power to control the blood flow of your own body, and it has 2 key effects. First, you can easily control bleeding. As a result, you suffer fewer hit points to damage from every attack against them that causes physical injury.
So
2 fewer hit points. You suffer 2 fewer hit points of
So
damage.
if somebody were to do any sort of physical bludgeoning, piercing,
you suffer
slashing,
2 points of damage less.
2 less. All right, bet.
And by flooding key portions of your body with blood, you can effectively cushion blows against you and reduce their effects. Your armor class is reduced by 1 as well. So,
Cool.
harder to hit you, and you take slightly less damage. If you crit success, AC is reduced by 3.
Cool.
Crit failure, excessive blood flow causes scattered bruises and 10% HP loss.
Rude. But okay.
But I also like this because while those are the direct effects, I also look at it from the point of view of roleplay. If I can control my blood, if I get bit by a venomous snake, I cut my blood off. I activate this power, I cut my blood off from the arm. So I don't take the effects of poison. I can literally take the poison out of my arm or cut my arm off and not bleed out.
before it gets anywhere.
You take any mortal or like an actual mortal wound, stop bleeding out. If you want to, there's, I'm just trying to think of like, what other aspects of like, why would you want to stop your blood? You want to feign death. Someone tries to take your pulse, block blood to that arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely, for other more, if you're into that sort of thing, spicy roleplay in those kind of DM sessions.
That's fair.
Blood flow control
can
can help some people.
A whole lot of folks. Come on now.
I'm just saying that's a thing. But yeah, it's usually the one that I think of when I usually think of this discipline is just the biofeedback, because I always think of like being able to be hit with something that has poison and just naturally be like, oh, I got hit with a dart, I'm gonna cut off blood flow. And if you just turn that into like your default, I'm gonna do it, then it's like you can just always say when I get hit with something, I'm gonna assume it's poison, so I just cut off blood flow and I don't get poison. So it's almost an immunity to poison.
That's kind of fire, actually.
And that's something that I would allow because I've had it allowed for me, and I'm like, I like that. I would use it like that. Next one, body control. This is 7 initial, 5 maintenance. You can adapt your body to any hostile environment or a hostile environment. It must be keyed to a specific surrounding, so water, acid, extreme heat, extreme hold, an elemental plane, etc. So one specific. If it works, you not only survive, but you fit in like a natural organism. You can breathe, move normally, and you take no damage by being in that environment. So if you do it on the elemental plane of fire, you're basically act as if you're from there. You move, walk, and interact with the world as if you're from there. You're underwater, you move, act as if you've always been underwater. You don't gain gills or anything, but you gain no hindrances of like the movement or anything else like that. So you are, in a sense, at home in those environments. If it's extreme heat from a desert, suddenly heat doesn't bother you and you have no movement issues or anything. An attack in any form does not constitute an environment. So, for example, a character who can survive subarctic temperatures is still vulnerable to Cone of Cold.
Right.
So it's only the environment, the natural state of the environment. Crit success, they can adapt themselves to a new environment while maintaining the power score. So instead of recasting it.
Sick.
At will. And crit failure, you become more vulnerable, and the environment causes 1d4 points of damage per round, even if it was already doing points. So that's just additional. And a second use of body control halts damage. So you just have to reactivate it, and then you can stop.
Got it. Okay.
So this is good if you're ever banished into an area that you can't be in, or if you're going to enter it, if you know for a fact you're going to go somewhere that you can't exist in or is very hostile to you. Mm-hmm. Safe passage.
Okay.
I also like that this one's actually is kind of close at heart to me, because when Sophia was leveling up, she was at the stage where she was choosing new stuff, and she wanted to know if this was a good divination to get into for the Old Gods campaign. Mm-hmm. And this was a really hard part as a DM, because she was asking me questions that were directly related to what you guys still haven't dealt with yet. Like, this was her last level up.
Right.
So she was asking me, like, I don't know what I would want to do. And it was so hard to not give her any advice, because I literally could not give her unbiased advice because I know what's ahead. So I told her I won't say anything, because I know what I want to say, but that would directly help you with the next campaign. But I also don't want to say something other than that to get you away from it if that was your choice. Right. So I literally was like, I literally would persuade you and change the course of your campaign if I do this. And it sucks because she didn't choose body control at that time, which is a little unfortunate, because you'll find this out if we ever pick up the Old Gods campaign. But just remember the fact that you can change to survive environments, including water, acid, extreme heat, extreme cold, blah, blah, blah.
That's crazy.
But you might want to just, in the back of your mind, just put a little post-it note of...
Just maybe.
Environment of acid. She passed that up, unfortunately.
I'm curious, would being inside a gelatinous cube be considered that?
It says an attack in any form, so no. It's considered an attack. I would consider that an attack.
So being digested would be considered an attack. So if you got eaten in like...
In the respect of a gelatinous cube, I consider it.
Okay, that's fair, because that's basically all they do. That's basically all they do.
And raw with lore, gelatinous cube was originally intended as an attack, as a cleanup and an attack. It's a creature that wizards would regularly put in their dungeons to clean up and be as a defense. In my opinion, it was always designed to be
that's fair enough.
Defense
that's fair enough.
You know all about this one. Body equilibrium.
Yeah, I do.
Initial cost 2, maintenance cost of 2. Basically allows you to adjust your weight of your body to correspond with the surface you're standing on. So, You can walk on water, quicksand, or a spider web without sinking or breaking it. If the character is falling when he uses this, you can fall with 120 feet per round, slow enough to escape injury. So basically, you can use this somewhat as feather fall. Because of lightness, the character must be wary of wind gusts and can be easily swept up and away. Crit success, the effect lasts up to a day without maintenance. Crit failure, your weight instantly increases by a factor of 10, and you must use this ability again to fix it.
I think that actually happened to me one time.
Well, and then this was like the most classic one that we remember using in the Old Gods campaign, because Sophia, being a full Psionisist, used telekinesis on a piece of paper. So she levitated a piece of paper. You then used body equilibrium to step onto said piece of paper, which you were then light enough to stand on, and then she levitated said piece of paper up and away, which was basically just a piece carpet of ride now. So, and again, that's the beauty of it, right? When we layer those abilities, where if you look at what it says, it's like you are able to stand on any piece of paper, and she's able to levitate the paper. If your body equals, you're not adding weight to the paper, so therefore her limit was, and this is the beauty of it, her limit of like telekinesis is like 5 pounds. But with body equilibrium, you reduce your weight to the surface. So therefore, I look at that as you're not adding weight to the paper, you're reducing your weight to its necessity.
I mean, it even says that you're vulnerable to wind.
That's my thing. It's like,
right?
So as far as I'm concerned, you two basically negated each other to where you didn't add to her max and she didn't disrupt your power. So you two, that's a synergistic power source that I just, and then imagine being able to do that together. Imagine just a Psionicist being able to levitate.
Do that by herself? Exactly.
Like basically making it to where it's like you could have a flying carpet. Just sit on the flying carpet, cast body equilibrium.
I was
and then
just
levitate the
rewatching
carpet.
like old X-Men, and I'm just getting Magneto vibes. You're just out here floating yourself around everywhere. I'm like, all right, get you some.
Yeah. All right, body weaponry. This one's for the the combat oriented Psionicist. Initial cost of 4, initial cost of 9, maintenance cost of 4. And basically what this does is allows you to convert one of your arms into a weapon. Virtually any sort of weapon that you can imitate, except for a short bow, hand crossbow, light crossbow, or any weapon the Psionicist cannot normally use. So anything that the class would not normally be able to use, plus ranged weapons of that sort.
Would you say this is like an entire arm transformation, or could I like?
No, it's your arm.
Okay.
It's actually your arm. So the arm automatically becomes wood and or metal and assumes the weapon's form. It behaves in every aspect like a normal weapon of the chosen type, with a bonus: it can never be dropped or stolen.
So, I would ask. So, for something like a bow staff, that in order to be actually used, you need both ends of it accessible.
You wouldn't get both ends. It's not like it would come out like as a T. That's why you wouldn't choose a bow staff, because you would literally, your arm would just turn into a long stick.
What about nunchucks? Nunchucks would work, right? Because it's just a chain, and then the other end of it swings around. So like your hand could be the one side, and then it
Doesn't say it can't. Doesn't say it can't be.
Okay.
I mean, you could make the argument that maybe makes you more vulnerable because that has to be bone and ligament chains. But you know what I'm saying? Like but I mean, you could just make like a tendon.
Well,
it doesn't have to be chains. It could be like a tendon.
It says it becomes wood or metal.
Oh yeah, that's true. No, yeah, you could be nunchuck.
You flick of it.
Yeah, I can see that. Be kind of a weird nunchuck because it'd
it
would be like out of your wrist or elbow, so you just have this like one-sided hanging, just flopping like stick.
You'd have to get mad close, like your range would be mad off.
You wouldn't have the same like cool thing though, because you're not you're not being able to switch hands. You'd just be like flailing.
That is true.
But you could make your arm into a flail. You could just get you could just make a flail. Your hand just becomes like a fucking.
What about like a whip? Like legit, like
might be able to make it into a whip.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Crit success. The armament gives the Psionicist a +1 attack bonus, but no damage bonus.
Okay.
Crit failure. The Psionicist must make a system shock or pass out for 1d10 rounds.
Rude. All right.
Happens.
I like it.
This one's really good for the monks for out there. With an initial cost of 4, we have Catfall. Character using this ability can spring like a cat in the same round and always land gracefully on their feet. They still suffer damage from falling, but the damage is halved. He can jump down 30 feet without risking any injury at all. So you get your first 30 feet of free.
Sick.
Crit success, you can jump 50 feet instead of 30 during the single use of the power. And there is no crit failure. So it's a one-time use, so you basically activate it. And the purpose of this is to basically go down vertically, descend easy without damage. So if you have a 30-foot drop,
So it doesn't allow you to jump.
no, this is basically like it's cat fall. It's
Okay.
basically falling like a cat. So you could do body equilibrium because this one's only 4. Body equilibrium would work, but body equilibrium was a cost of 2. So it's like, but it's a maintenance cost, right? So 2 per round. So depends on how far the fall is, but the cat fall, if you're just dropping 20 feet, do 4, you can just pop and roll, take no damage. I mean, there is that. I mean, I could see this argument as
Other things do it better.
I mean, equilibrium, yeah, it's like equilibrium is cost of 2, but you do have to maintain it, and it does say that you fall at 120 feet per round. But if you're dropping at 30 feet, equilibrium would probably be better.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're just using it for the one round, you just pay the initial cost, you use it, and then you Gucci. There's likely some other scenarios we might not be considering, but
I guess because catfall, you wouldn't worry about like wind or anything. You're not actually like lighter. Remember, like equilibrium,
that is true.
you do fall at a steadier rate. So with catfall, it is just a drop and roll. Just pay 4, you get a free drop. 30 feet drop. So there is merit to what you would use this for, and it's a quick 4. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
all right. So cause decay. Initial cost of 4. There is no maintenance. It is a touch, but area of effect 60 pounds. This power works only against inanimate objects, so no, just taking out your opponent. The touch causes instant decay. Metal rusts, wood ages and splits, cloth falls to dust. DM rolls a saving throw versus acid for the item touched. If this fails, the item or a maximum of 60 pounds of it is consumed by decay within 1 round. Crit success, the save automatically fails. Crit failure, one of the Psionisist's own items decays. No save. Either the first item touched or an item chosen randomly by the DM.
Rude.
That's, you want to talk about like,
I'd quickly touch something I don't care about.
Dude, fucking disintegrate though. We thought disintegrate was bad. Dude, you could literally just walk up to someone's armor, just in battle, just your armor's gone.
See, that's and it's just, that's it?
That's it. If they don't save, gone. Consumed by decay within 1 round, just gone.
I was gonna ask, like, that's way crazier than the what was the other one?
Disintegrate or detonate?
The moving the molecules real fast or creating
agitate. There's agitate. There was rearrange,
soften.
Yeah, I mean, like yeah. So there's just a lot of shit, man. A lot of shit. Let's see. Cell adjustment. Cost of 5. Maintenance up to 20 per round. Cell adjustment allows the Psionisist to heal wounds and cure diseases. Any sort of wound can be healed, but only non-magical diseases are affected. This power cannot heal mummy rot, nor can it cure lycanthropy. They can cure a disease in 1 round by spending 5 PSP and making a successful power check. If the die roll equals 1, he succeeds, but it's doubly taxing, 10 PSP. If it equals 2, he fails because the disease is too widespread and must spend another 5 PSP to try again next round. A quote-unquote cure doesn't automatically restore hit point loss due to illness. It merely arrests the disease. However, they can heal up to 4 points of damage in each subsequent round by spending 5 PSP per round restored. So once you've cured the disease, you can then start pumping them up with HP.
Okay.
Like basically giving them some health. You cannot cure the disease and restore hit points during the same round.
Okay.
Crit success. All diseases or up to 10 points of damage is instantly healed at a cost of 5 PSP. Crit failure. The Psionisist suffers 10d points of damage, but the patient is unaffected.
Okay.
So this one is more, I would say, the more role play one. This one's like if you're like the cleric and you want to do like you're trying to get people to like you in town, you can go around and just start playing healer. You're healed. You're healed. You're healed. So there's the absorb disease, which is a little bit slower. This one you can just kind of walk around, pay the initial cost, and just start literally zapping diseases out of people. So a little bit of a different approach.
Okay.
Let's see. Chameleon power. Cost of 6.
I already like it.
Maintenance of 3.
This is still devotions in psychometabolism, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Using this power, you can change the coloration of your skin, clothing, and equipment to match the background. The match is automatic. He does not choose the appearance. So basically, whatever your background is, it changes. The changes take several seconds. As he moves, the coloration changes and shifts to reflect any change in those surroundings. In effect, the chameleon power makes the Psionisist very difficult to spot. If the character remains stationary, he can avoid attention simply by making a successful check, a power check. If the character moves, his power score is reduced by 3 when he makes the check. Power is most effective in natural surroundings where one's coloration would logically conceal them. Urban settings or in an area without natural cover during broad daylight, the character's chameleon power is halved.
Okay.
Critical success, your power score gains a +3 bonus during the hiding checks. Critical failure, your coloration strongly clashes with the background. You stick out like a sore thumb.
Rude.
But I do like that one. Just, again, for the rogues out there, you can just hide, plain sight.
What's the maintenance on that?
3 per round.
That's not too bad.
Nah. Especially if it's just quick, someone walking through a room, you just go up against the wall real quick, do the whole, paint yourself.
Wait, what's the initial then?
6.
6? Yeah, okay.
Chemical simulation. Initial is 9, maintenance of 6. With this, the Psionisist can make their body simulate the action of acid. The character secretes an acid through their hands. Any item touched and holds briefly must make a save versus acid or be dissolved. If used as a weapon, the acid cannot inflict more than 2 or 3 points of damage, though it can cause considerable pain. So you can't, really get attack advantage, but you're torturing somebody. Mm-hmm. Just grab a hold of them, and it's just searing pain. So narratively wise, it's supposed to be searing pain, but they're only going to lose up to 3 points of damage at a time. Critical success, all saves for normal items fail. Magical items still get a saving throw. Mm-hmm. And critical failure, acid oozes from the Psionisist's sweat glands. All items touching your skin must make a save versus acid.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go with next one, displacement. Initial 6, maintenance of 3. This resembles the displacer beast's natural ability to make itself appear to be up to 3 feet from its actual location.
Okay, I'm here for that.
They can basically decide where the false image will appear. It's very effective means of protecting oneself from attack, giving the Psionisist 2-point bonus on his armor class, lowering it 2 points. True seeing will reveal the character's real location. Crit success, AC bonus is +4, and there is no crit fail.
I like that a lot.
So activating this is really great because you're basically never where you appear to be. And because contact doesn't pinpoint where you are, even if someone makes contact with you, they don't know that that's not the real you.
Interesting.
They can still contact your mind, but they don't know you're not sitting right in front of them. Y'all don't know if Portable Portations was ever actually sitting right in front of you.
Yeah, it's very fair. Interesting. So this duplicate, is it illusory?
Yeah, essentially. It works just like how the Beholder is. It just looks like you're elsewhere. So it adds to because it's only within 3 feet, so it just adds to your AC.
Okay.
But it would take true sight for people to see it because it's not an illusion spell. You're actually messing with their head. You're in their mind, messing with how their vision works.
But
they're not not like the contact spell, but basically you're messing with reality, not magic. You're not magically projecting an image.
I guess my question is, would they be able to physically interact with it?
No, you just appear to be over there.
Okay.
So yeah, someone touching it, walking up would not touch it. Ooh. Double pain. Cost 7. By touching another person, you can greatly lower their pain tolerance. Even little scrapes can feel like bigger injuries. This will last for 1 turn. During that time, all damage scored against the character is doubled. However, only half the damage is real. The other half represents amplified pain. When the character takes a total of real damage and pain reduces to 0 hit points, they will pass out. So even though they might have 10 hit points left, if they think they're at 0...
So they go unconscious, but they're not necessarily making death saving throws.
Correct. They're not dead.
I kind of like that.
They're not dead.
Now, what's the... Is this
remember,
touch?
there weren't any saving throws back then, but yes, in 5th edition, there wouldn't be saving throws.
Right.
They will regain consciousness 1d10 rounds later. At that time, they also regain the fake hit points. So they'll have whatever they actually had.
Yeah.
If the victim does not pass out in the one turn, the duration of the power's effect, damage scored against him is no longer doubled, so they'll go back to normal. However, the points of pain damage which he has already incurred will remain in effect for another 1d6 rounds. So he's no longer going to take additional damage, but he still thinks he took that damage.
Does that mean that if he goes unconscious as a result of that additional damage, he'll still just go regular unconscious instead of...
Yeah, he still thinks he took that damage. You just won't continuously create fake damage. He'll just think that...
That's actually not bad. What's the cost on that?
7.
7? And how much? Or what's it called again?
Double pain. And it just lasts for 1 turn if you succeed. If you crit succeed, the victim must make a system shock roll upon each hit or pass out due to excruciating pain. If you crit fail, the power backfires and it affects the Psionisist for 1 hour.
An hour? Oh, that's fucked. That's a whole ass hour? You get 1 round and I get an hour?
1 turn. You affect him for 1 turn.
So how many rounds is that? Is that 10 rounds?
Should be. 10 rounds 10 minutes in a turn.
So, out of curiosity, how many times would I get to attack you in a turn? Me get to attack you in a turn.
Oh, I'm assuming that if you attacked every single round 10 times.
Okay.
No, I mean, maybe
Okay.
9 times if you include this first one being the activation.
All right. Well, then I gotta... Now... There's no way to reverse that hour. There's no way to, like... Because some of these other...
Yeah, nope.
Side effects you can reverse by...
You're affected. And so are they. All right. Ectoplasm form. Again, another great one for being a vampire. Cost of 9, maintenance of 9. You basically convert yourself into ectoplasm. You become insubstantial. You're ghost-like. You can walk through solid matter if it doesn't exist. You're still visible, like as a wispy outline. Your movement rate is normal. If you couldn't fly before, you can't fly now. But you can also convert the following. You can do your clothes, your armor, and up to 15 pounds of equipment.
Okay.
So and it's all solid matter. It's flat rock. Walk through rock.
Cool.
Walk through a door. Anything you want. Crit success, the maintenance cost is 3 per round instead of 9. Crit failure, your items become ectoplasm, but you don't, and you must use the power again successfully to get them back. So this one is just fantastic because basically it just means it's literally just walk through anything.
You just a motherfucking ghost.
Yeah,
all right,
you were literally a ghost. Enhance strength. Costs vary. Both costs. So you can increase your physical strength score to a maximum of 18 through this power. PSP cost is twice the number of points you want to add to your strength.
Okay.
If you fail, you lose half this amount.
Okay.
The maintenance cost per round is equal to the number of strength points you've added.
Okay.
So the initial cost is twice the amount you want to add. Maintenance is equal.
So
to
if I want to add 2 points, I'm paying 4 initially, and my maintenance is 2.
Correct.
Bad.
Physical strength cannot be raised above 18. Psionically, the Psionisist does not qualify for exceptional strength bonuses if you raise your strength to 18. So you don't get the exceptional strength bonuses that a fighter would with that. If you crit success, the Psionisist can raise your strength to 18 double aught, and with each 25% increase costing an additional PSP. 18 double aught is just in second edition. If you had a strength score of 18, there were actually like 3 different versions of 18 you could have.
Okay.
Because you would roll, if you got 18 as a stat, you'd then roll a D100, and then based off of that, you would get a different type of modifier. It's a very weird system. I will say that one even kind of confused me. But it was basically saying that 18, 19, and 20 had varying levels.
Got you.
So this is basically just saying that you could push it beyond 18. And then this would also still cap out, because it does say you cannot go above 18 psionically, so that also accounts, even though it didn't say so at the time. The other one where you're able to get the D6 and put it into your stats would also cap at 18.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And then if you crit succeed, or if you crit fail, the power backfires and lowers strength by 1d6 until you do this power successfully. And these things suck, man. If that was your last psionic power or your last PSP, you gotta wait.
I'm going to meditate, guys.
All right, okay.
I can't handle this.
We're making good time. We're at the 3-hour mark. We got
how much more we got for this?
we got 2 more pages.
2 more pages? That's not bad.
That's not too bad. Okay, so expansion. Cost of 6, maintenance of 1. You can expand your own body proportions in any dimension: height, length, width, or thickness.
I think I have this one too.
You can increase any or... Oh, yes, this is how you used to pick locks. You would actually put your finger in there and then manipulate it. You can increase any or all of the proportions by 50% of the original size per round. Maximum expansion is 4 times original size. Yeah, so you did that with a lock. You put you shrunk your finger, put it in the lock, and then you expanded it to the size of the lock, and then just moved, and then just fiddled
almost like a balloon.
This power has no effect on clothing or equipment. Ability scores don't increase either. In other words, the character doesn't get stronger just because you have more muscle. However, being very big does have other advantages. Crit success, maximum expansion becomes 10 times, and the rate is 100% per round.
Dope.
Crit failure, Psionisist shrinks by 50% until you activate the power successfully.
I do remember that happening to me.
Yes.
I think I kept failing some of these checks.
So yeah, a lot of crazy things you can do, because this one basically, like, you're basically Mr. Fantastic.
Right? 100% is what it feels like.
Mr. Fantastic.
Yes, definitely. That's pretty cool.
Flesh armor, cost of 8, maintenance of 4. You transform your own skin into armor. No one can see the change, but it's if you actually were wearing armor. The type of armor the body mimics depends on the result of the power check shown in the following table. So if you roll a 1, left hand functions as a shield with an AC of 9.
Okay.
If you roll a 2, you get your skin acts as leather armor with an AC of 8. 3 or 4, ring mail with an AC of 7. 5 or 6, scale mail with an AC of 6. 7 or 8, chain mail with an AC of 5. 9 or 10, banded mail with an AC of 4. 11 or higher, plate mail with an AC of 3. Because the armor is part of the body, the Psionisist can enjoy its benefits without suffering any penalties you might have that while you were wearing it. The armor created by this power weighs nothing, has no magnetic properties, and in no way encumbers the Psionisist. So if you can also cast magic, you also don't suffer any penalties for wearing this armor while casting magic. Crit success, you gain a +1 bonus to your armor class listed above. So you just automatically get a bonus. And crit failure, the power just grows ugly, or the power just grows ugly hair over the body, and it must be shaved off, or he loses 2 points of charisma. That is the most unhinged failure we've heard of yet.
What in the... Bruh.
Yeah, you basically just go hairy boy until you shave.
I mean, I bet. Let's go.
Lightweight. Here's another one. So
what was that one called again?
That one was flesh armor.
Flesh armor.
So we talked about, what was it? We already did body weaponry. This is a little bit of a different spin on this. This one's graft weapon. This one will be a little bit more akin to what you wanted to do with the bow staff.
Okay.
So initial cost of 10, maintenance cost of 1. With this power, you can basically graft any one-handed melee weapon directly to your body. So maybe not a staff, because it's not really one-handed. But you can make the argument. But basically, you pick up the weapon, activate the power, and the weapon becomes an extension of the character's arm. Assuming the character has a proficiency with this weapon, you gain a +1 bonus to attack and damage. If you're not proficient with the weapon, you suffer usual non-proficient proficiencies, but you still get the +1 bonus.
Okay.
If you crit succeed, the +1 bonus for attacks and damage increases to a +4.
What? The +1 goes to a +4?
So you get So you would get a +4 to attacks and damage if you crit succeeded. If you crit fail, the weapon has been weakened. It will break on any attack roll of 1.
Rude. Okay.
But basically, you can't drop it. It can't be taken from you. And unlike the other one where your arm turns into the sword, this is now the sword from your hand up.
Right.
So you get the extra length and everything. And it's one-handed only. So unique aspects of it, but could be fascinating.
Now, here's the deal. Like, can you put it down? Or do you have to stop using this power? Okay.
Yeah, it's literally it's part of, it's like your hand and it. You don't hold it anymore. It's just part of your hand. Now, I have thought about this long and hard, and I have made rulings because technically it's basically just saying that it becomes an extension of your arm. But basically you have to pick up the weapon, activate the power, and it becomes an extension of your arm. Mm-hmm. So I interpret that as that's not part of your hand. It's part of your arm, which means if I take a dagger and I go activate power, I now have full access to this hand, and I have a dagger on the top. That's how I look at it. So I can hold a dagger and have a dagger sticking on top of my hand. So I could basically, what are those, the glaives or whatever? But yeah, I could basically have 2 daggers just stuck on my arms.
Lightweight like Wolverine or whatever.
And then just activate that power and then still have full access of my hand. That's how I read this.
Interesting.
And it doesn't necessarily, it says that it's on the arms, but I also wouldn't necessarily say that this is limited to hands and arms. And
you just say it's limited to 1 per limb?
I would say so because it's one-handed.
But I mean, like, if it's a dagger and you're talking about putting it on the back, can I, like, stick another one over here? Can I do other things with...
That's where the idea of, you know, how far do you want to put it? Now, granted, it does say graft weapon. I've thought about, like, well, does that mean I could graft a shield to my back? Not really, because it's a weapon. But there's room for questions here on what does this mean. Like, can I graft some tiny daggers to my feet and then use those to climb? Like, literally graft a dagger to the bottom of my foot and then use that to, like, stick into something that I'm climbing. So, yeah, there's a lot of questions here that doesn't answer, but graft weapon could be super powerful. If you could cast it 4 times and have daggers just, like, crawling, you know what I mean? Like, could be interesting.
Okay.
All right, next one, heightened senses. So, initial cost of 5, maintenance cost of 1. Basically, you can sharpen all 5 of your normal senses: sight, sound, hearing, touch, and smell, taste. This has several effects which are described below. The DM may allow additional applications as they see fit. So first, the character has a good chance to notice thieves who are hiding in shadows or moving silently. The thief's skills chance is halved when someone has heightened senses and you're observing their location. Even if the thief is already hidden, they must roll again against the player with the heightened senses. Second, you can track someone like a bloodhound. You must make an intelligence check every turn to stay on the trail or recover the trail if it's lost. The movement rate when tracking is 6. The trail can be no more than 24 hours old.
Okay.
Your range of hearing and seeing are tripled. So, for example, you can identify a person in daylight at a range of 400 yards.
Good God. All right, bet.
Fourth, you can taste poisons or other impurities in quantities which are much too small to cause any harm.
Okay, so you can you could be like a taste tester or whatever. Okay.
Little taste test. Or if you're just really paranoid, just anytime you eat anywhere, just activate this right quick. Just taste everything and be like, okay, it's fine. Just drop it.
What's the activation cost?
5.
5? It's nothing.
Maintenance of 1.
Get out of here. Let's go. Right? Let's go.
Fifth, if a character can identify anything by touch, he can, for example, tell two gold pieces apart from each other after only having previously handled just one of them. He can also tell if something has been handled in the last 5 minutes simply by having it handed to him. Or handling it himself. So he can pick up an object and can tell if someone's touched it within 5 minutes. Crit success, one of the heightened senses chosen randomly stays with the Psionisist for a full day.
Sick.
Crit fail, one of the Psionisist's 5 senses is lost for 1d12 hours.
And the other stuff doesn't happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
It fails and you lose a sense.
For 1d12 hours. So, like, you just lose your sight. You could just be blind for the rest of the day.
And you can't reactivate this to get it back. It's just gone. But if you had see sound or whatever, or hear light, you could always overcome it.
You'd be like, screw it, whatever, I'm fine.
But again, like, see, the more you learn, the more you can overcome most of the shit that happens to a Psionicist, right?
That's crazy.
Immovability.
Okay.
Let's say that right. Immovability. Cost of 9, maintenance of 6. Basically, you make yourself immovable, and it's exactly that. It takes a tremendous amount of force to uproot you. It would basically take a combined strength total that is at least 10 times greater than the immovability score, which is your Constitution minus 5. So your Constitution minus 5 times 10 is the minimum amount they need to move you.
Minimum, like, amount
combined
rolled?
Strength score.
Oh, combined strength score.
Yeah, so you would have to have enough people that have the combined strength of 10 times your Constitution minus 5. So if your Constitution is 15, you have to have a combined strength total of 100 to move you. That's so if that would be
so it's a 10, whole bunch of people grabbing ropes wrapped around
10 strength people to move you.
That's crazy.
If a character is pushing the Psionicist and makes successful bend bars, the character can double the strength he's contributing to the total. So basically giving people extra. If a group manages to move the Psionicist once, they may not be able to move him any easier the next time. So you can move once, but then you got to try again. You can remain immovable until you stop the power. That has nothing to do with weight. The character will not crush through the floor because you've made yourself immovable. He's basically attached himself to the fabric of the universe, which is considerably more powerful than the strongest castle. He does, however, need a horizontal surface to anchor, so you can't just be on the side of a wall. If you fail, you attach yourself so well that even you can't break free by simply shutting off the power. You must pay the initial cost again to free yourself. If you crit success, moving...
that actually sounds kind of fire. If you do that accidentally and you just stay there...
crit success, you become impossible to move. Crit failure, you can't stop the power, and the maintenance, and you maintain it until you run out of PSP. So you're literally stuck there just burning it.
The one that you can't turn off, does the maintenance cost go away?
What do you mean?
So you have to activate the power to turn it off. Remember,
you do the initial cost of 9, and then it's a maintenance of 6.
So, there was one of the things that you'd mentioned. What's the regular failure?
Oh, if the Psionisist says, so if you regular fail, you can't just shut it off. You can't deactivate your power by shutting it off. You have to reinitiate the power to shut it off.
So you're still paying the maintenance cost, but you have to, if you want to turn it off, you got to pay for it again.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Well, no, I'm sorry. You can stop paying the maintenance cost, but you're still stuck. So on the regular failure, you're stuck, but you can stop paying the maintenance cost. You'll still be stuck. You have to activate it to stop. So with the crit failure, you can't stop the power, and it will maintain until you're out of PSP.
So with the regular failure, theoretically, I could be there indefinitely.
As long as you never reactivate. If you never reactivate the power, you're stuck. But you won't be forced to run out of PSP.
So I could just be there as this statue that doing all this psionic stuff to all these other people, just chilling there.
And no one can move you.
Now, can you be killed in this place?
Oh, yeah.
You can be stabbed. You just can't.
You can't be moved. But you are still you.
If you die, can you be moved? Like, I'm guessing you'll...
In that particular case,
yeah.
The psionic would end.
All right, yeah. Okay.
Ooh. Another supportive role. Lend health.
Lend health. All right.
Initial cost of 4. Range of touch. Basically, it is a form of healing where if you make the successful power check, you can transfer your own HP to someone else you are touching. Each HP transfer heals 1 point of damage. So basically, it's a 1-to-1. Character can transfer as many HP as you want in a single round. Okay. So cost of 4, any amount of PSP or any amount of HP, you can give up. If you try to transfer HP... when you have fewer than 5 remaining, you must make another power check. If it fails, you cannot transfer the points. So basically, if you're trying to literally kill yourself to save someone, it costs more. In any case, you cannot transfer hit points if you only have 1 remaining.
Got it.
The beneficiary of the power can never exceed their normal, so you can't give them more than their max. Healthy total, so basically, you can only give them up to their total. Crit success, every point drained heals for 2 instead. So it's a 1-to-2.
Okay.
Crit failure, the Psionisist suffers all the wounds which the target currently has. No one is healed.
Rude.
That's devastating. Because if they've lost 50 hit points, that means you're going to lose 50 hit points.
So, again, raw with lore, are we saying that the intention of this power... is to give this person all of their present, we'll say fresh injuries? Like, what if they got a bum leg? Do you now have a bum leg?
No, this would just be injuries from what you're trying to heal.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing that was sustaining long term. It's just
okay.
Whatever you're trying. So again,
that makes a lot of sense.
The idea is after battle.
Yeah.
And again, you can interpret that as you get however much HP they lost in battle, you lose that HP, or maybe you just are now bloody and maybe you have a limp because your leg's broken. You could decide what that means as a DM however you want.
Right.
Mind over body, another one of my favorites. No initial cost, but it does have a maintenance cost of 10 per day. It allows the user to suppress the body's need for food, water, and sleep. In exchange for 1 hour of meditation per day, all of your physical needs are overcome. You don't feel hunger, exhaustion, thirst, or suffer any ability reductions for not having any of these. You can also suppress the basic need of others while suppressing your own. So to do so, you must pay an additional 10 PSP per day and spend the additional hour of meditation per person.
So if you wanted to keep this going forever, you could technically just lower your cap by spending it every single day.
Yeah. Each person being aided must be in physical contact with the Psionisist through the entire period of meditation. Usually all the characters hold hands, forming a continuous line or circle. The Psionisist can survive in this fashion for a number of days equal to the experience level, or 5 days, whichever is more. At the end of that time, they collapse from exhaustion. They must rest 1 day for every 2 days spent like this. They can then be restored through 24 hours. You can be restored through 24 hours of complete healing. The rules apply to characters the Psionisist aided. So yeah, same rules apply to the characters the Psionisist affected. Crit success, you do not need to rest after using the power. Crit failure, the Psionisist collapses in exhaustion and must rest for 24 hours. So really, the biggest draw of this is more or less role play for ration control.
I mean,
if you're not in a source for water, or if you're traveling somewhere without water, if you're traveling and you don't want to buy rations of food, or if you are in a location that says, hey, if you go into this dungeon, you can't take short rests or long rests because you guys can't sleep.
I would say that's huge. Like the ability to survive without sleep. Now,
but it does not replace long rests, at least for the 5th edition version.
Yes, but I would also say that specifically if you're a pure psionicist, that long rests don't do you as much good with the exception of getting hit points back. Yeah. Because you can just rest and meditate to get your PSP back. You don't need a rest for all that.
And another thing about this is because there's no maintenance, right? It's just a thing that you can do. It's 10 per day. If you do this, because you can't activate Psionics while you're asleep, you can't have Psionics up while you're asleep. So if you have something being maintained that needs to maintain indefinitely,
you can't have any Psionics up while you're asleep?
As a basic, unless it says otherwise, unless one specific says otherwise, but a standard psionic cannot be maintained when you're asleep. So this, if you have something that needs to stay up, this could be that thing that keeps you awake, so you can keep maintaining whatever it is that you need.
Super quick question. It says that you need to rest for a number of days equal to for 1 day for every 2 days. What if you only use this for 1 day? Is it rest or
minimum 1 day rest?
Minimum, okay.
But it's 1 day for every 2 days spent in this time.
Okay.
With a minimum of 1 day rest, and that's where, because you get complete healing, can also pop you out of this, which is only 24 hours. So
true. Or an hour if you crit.
Yeah, and you crit. So yeah, mind over body, really kind of cool. Not as great for affecting other people, but cool concept. Almost there, guys. Almost there. Reduction. Initial cost varies. Maintenance cost is 1 per round. Basically, it's the reverse of expansion. So you can basically adjust your body in all axes, height, length, width, and thickness. But you can reduce yourself. You can change the amounts of 1 foot per PSP spent until the dimensions being affected is less than a foot. After that, the Psionicist can have the dimensions each time they spend a PSP. So, for example, if you're standing 6 foot tall, you would spend 5 strength points to reduce to 1 foot, then 3 more to have it the size 3 times to 6 inches, then 3 inches, then finally to 1.5. So you can keep going, but it's going to cost you more PSP every time you have it. So
now, is that maintenance more every time, or is that initial?
No, maintenance is always 1 round. The initial cost is just what varies about what you're actually doing, and then every time you change is the initial cost to change the size. Crit success: each PSP spent results in twice the desired effect, if desired. So you can get twice the amount. And then crit failure: the Psionicist doubles in size and stays that big for an hour or until you successfully use the power.
On a crit success, say I wanted to make myself an inch tall, right? And I knew that regularly it was going to take me 10 PSP to do so. Mm-hmm. On a crit success, would you say that I could expend 5 PSP to get that small instead?
Yeah, or because you basically get twice the amount. If you choose to, you can get up to twice the effect. So yeah, you would have the amount cost.
But I want to make sure you'll be able to choose to spend less instead of just being twice as small as you actually want it to be. Do you understand? So if it's
no.
If I was intending to spend 10 PSP and I crit and I spent 10 PSP, then I'd be twice as small as I originally.
But it's only if desired. So the idea of each PSP spent results in twice the effect if desired. So it's only basically it's allowing you to essentially cut
your costs in half.
Your cost in half if you choose to. But you can't nickel and dime it. It's you're using it
100%. Yeah.
So if you're either saying I'm going to use it for the full double, you can't be like, well, I only want to use 1.5. Well, it's like, you can't
use it or don't use it.
It's like you're going to use the crit or you're not. This one again, unique niche usage, but fascinating as an idea. Share strength. Initial cost of 6, maintenance cost of 2, and you can basically lend your physical health to another creature or character. You sacrifice 2 of your own strength points, ability points, not PSP, for every single point the recipient gains. So the transfer remains in effect until you stop paying the maintenance cost. Then everything goes back to normal. If the recipient is killed first, the strength points go back to the Psionisist. If the recipient is killed before the Psionisist gets their strength points back, the Psionisist strength score is permanently reduced. So you are physically giving it to them, and if they die, they take it with them.
So real quick, at the beginning you said that for every 1 point they get, you have to give up 2?
Yes. So if they die, you will lose 2, even though you only gave them 1. So be mindful what this does. If you fail, you must expend 3 points for each point your pal gained instead of 2 for 1. So 3 strength points for every one they gained.
Okay.
And that's just automatic. So it's you failed the roll, so it's still going to happen, but you pay a higher cost. If you crit succeed, the point transfer is a 1-to-1.
Dope.
And if you crit fail, the Psionisist loses 1 strength point for a day. And if he fails a save versus paralyzation, the loss is permanent.
Rude.
Yeah. But again, super niche. Really interesting, though.
Very interesting. I'd be very curious to see how... Okay. So you know how in the earlier stuff we were talking about, they said you couldn't increase past 18. Is that the same here?
That's a psionic. Well, psionics cannot go past 18, so you wouldn't be able to bump them past 18. And that's more of a second edition thing too. Is there's very rarely things that would bump you past 18. So 18 is kind of like
I'm guessing that's very similar to how 5th edition has bumping past 20.
Yeah.
Most people can't bump past 20, but there are exceptions. You can get 24.
I just go with the generalized rule that psionics alone can't bump you past 18. But
I like
in conjunction,
Of course.
they just can't be the push, but they can push you to 18 and then have something push you further. But they can't be the reason you go above 18.
See, okay, so what if you have like a belt of strength, which will allow you to go past 18, but you have that on first?
Yeah, then the psionics wouldn't work.
So
psionics can't get you there.
So, but if hypothetically you were to unattune or take it off, activate your psionics and then put it back on, that would work?
Until the psionics was over. And then it would go back to just regular, and then the psionics would have to wait for you to take it off again. So, yes, technically that would work.
Really?
But it's.
I'm curious why it would work in that order.
It's the order of operations, because the psionics cannot naturally give you the benefit of over 18. Because in this particular case, the way I would look at it from a high point of view is psionics are an enhancement, but there's a certain amount of potential. An enhancement you can only be brought to. Mm-hmm. This isn't magical. This isn't doing anything. It's not changing you fundamentally. It's bringing out what you're capable of. It's more of a potential than it is an enhancement. So psionics can only get you to that potential of 18. Anything magically enhancing you beyond that's another question, and that just comes down to just like anything in D&D or Wizards of the Coast, order of operations. If you're magically enhanced, the psionics sees you as already at 18, can't do anything. But if you remove it...
that's where my question is because the psionics sees you already at 18, or... Because my mentality is, if the psionics is only pulling out that latency, then it's affecting me, not whatever the magic is.
But you're already being affected by that magic. So, yes, it's...
I'm not saying it's clean. And I totally get that.
I'm not saying it's clean, but to make it and again, I'm not saying that there's a limitation where psionics can't ever be conjoined, but I put that limit of the psionics can only get you naturally there, but if you're already being enhanced, the psionics kind of just get muddled in it, right?
To be honest, if you're trying to do all of that, like, it might be worth the work to do it.
And that's the other thing I look at too, is like, it's also not just a barrier of I don't want you to do it, it's also a barrier of I want you to earn it. Yes, all of these things could be done, but without that barrier, yes, it sounds arbitrary, but to me, that extra barrier makes you think, how do I accomplish this? Right? This conversation, this discourse. Well, if I have this belt, it's like, but the belt came on first. So it's strategic planning, right? I think that that's kind of what psionics is all about. And I kind of want to like bring that out, right? So that's more or less the reason why I would put the order of operations first is you could, because remember, we talk about magic doesn't know better, right? So you as a psionicist are the controlling the power. So you can feel that someone's already at strength 18, so you can't give them any more potential. The psionic itself isn't sentient, but you are, and you get some sort of feedback, right? Because you know whether the power works. So that's how I would judge it, where the power can't get you past 18, but if it pushes you to 18, anything you throw on top of it, already good to go. You know what I mean? Like,
interesting.
That will just enhance you even more. Curious to know what chat would think about that. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about that ruling. We are okay. This is the last one. Last science for tonight, and then we will we'll cut story time short. And then we'll go to part 4. Who cares? Who cares about a part 4?
We'll make it work.
Hey, you know what? It's content.
It's facts.
Content. All right. I don't even know how many people we have in chat right now. We got 3 people. Hey, it's fine. It's fine. It's cool. Glad y'all are enjoying. So last one for the where are we? We are on metapsionics? No, psychometabolism.
Yep.
Last science for psychometabolism. Suspend animation. Basically, it's feigned death. It's the psionic version of feigned death. So cost of 12. There is no maintenance cost. So you basically feign death and all life functions halt. Only the most careful examination could show that you're still alive. So no base examination would show that. Someone would have to basically be really thinking.
Lightweight doing an autopsy.
Yeah. Even the psionic powers such as detect life and ESP will not turn up any evidence of life unless those powers are maintained for at least 3 minutes. So they got to believe you're faking it. Like, ain't no one just going to walk up to you and be like, I don't know about this. No, you appear dead. They have to have a fucking reason to think you're not dead.
Right.
Use of a probe power will detect life immediately.
Use of a what?
The probe power. So other powers like life detection or ESP, the lower level psionics won't detect it, but there is a psionic called probe, which is like, I'm going to go into your subconscious.
Doesn't that only happen after you've made contact? I thought you couldn't probe people unless you'd already made contact. I know we're jumping ahead and stuff, but
probe is similar to ESP, but probe allows psionicists to dig much deeper into the subconscious, such as saving throw over spell, blah blah blah. Memories fall D. Answer one of the questions about the probe, such as the conscious carried out. You do need contact. Initial cost contact, but contact can be made on someone who's unconscious. And if you are essentially dead, let's see.
Because, I would think that contact would let you know somebody is alive. Unless you can contact the dead. Then you've opened up an entirely other bag of worms that I might have to fuck with.
Well, and what's interesting is, you can resist contact. So I guess the idea is that you would still have to, because you're still naturally protected as a psionicist even when you're sleeping, right? So you would still have to.
But there would be the difference between you being sleeping and them being like, hey, there's resistance there, versus there's nothing there for you to contact because that's a corpse. And that's kind of where I'm thinking is like, all right, can I just scan for a mind that's a mind?
Well, no, because it says even psionic powers such as life detect and ESP will not turn up any evidence of life unless they're maintained for at least 3 minutes. So that's interesting. Let me double check contact actually, because I'm wondering if contact specifically talks about like sleep.
I mean, it'd be really interesting if you could literally use contact to like walk in people's dreams and stuff.
That's a different power. Communication by itself made the conduit. It's contact before, as long as it is maintained. Mind link. Psionisist can maintain contact, but he must pay. Power.
Does the initial part of it say anything about living creature?
No. Establishing contact. Initial cost is the target's level or hit die shown below. Psionisist cannot contact a subject that he knows nothing about. In other words, he can't use his power to scan around and see what's out there. He must either have his. You can't use contact as like an AoE. You have to like individually ping mines. But you must either have the subject in sight or know specifically who or what you're looking for. Cannot, for example, try to contact anything random. You can try to contact a particular orc. Let's see. So Psionisist fails to establish contact. Several, how far the target is, resistance to the target, especially.
Well, if that's the case, then how are you able to detect invisible people if you can't scan around the room?
Well, you wouldn't be able to detect invisible people with contact.
I thought that's one of the things that we were talking about earlier. You can detect somebody who is like hidden. It's how you can check if there are. I swear we were talking about.
There's like things like detect life, but contact you have to know the target. Like you actually have to know like who you're going after. So yeah, contact isn't a way to define people, but there are like other like things that you can detect, like psionic abilities.
Interesting.
Or like you could detect like thoughts. Like you could just detect if there's like a mind around, like intelligence. But yeah, contact you have to have the specifics. So what's interesting is so it can establish 9 minds of plants. Become. Untrained character, resistance, unless the talent. Defense mode, he's vulnerable. I wonder. On to increase the cost of contact. I wonder if it says that in psychic combat. Maybe I'm trying to think. I don't think we covered whether psychic combat deals with sleeping. Telepathic combat.
That would be interesting.
Contact devotion never works against a psionicist or a psionic creature who does not allow it to work. This is even true when he's sleeping or unconscious. Psionicists normally have a closed mind before they make contact. Can work against them. They must have either intentionally open their mind or be attacked. They can selectively allow certain people to be in. They can only contact through telepathic compact. The text describes 5 telepathic assaults, attacks modes. Interesting. So this is one of those areas where they've left they've left basically an open gap here, right? Like, so yeah, there's definitely a unique aspect because this is saying that for the most part, there's no way for them to be able to tell that you're alive, but probe would automatically detect life. However, probe requires contact. If I'm looking at a corpse and I try to contact it, you would think that it just wouldn't work if the corpse is dead, right? Like the idea that contact would have to be done, you either know what happens or you don't, or you know it doesn't happen. That's it. Like you're either in or you're out. So and you would think that you can't contact dead minds.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would think that trying to make contact.
Although, so what would you say happens in the spell Speak with Dead?
I say Speak with Dead is essentially a divination spell that reaches out, identifies where the soul is actively kept, and basically makes a connection to it.
Would you be able to make contact with a mind when you're speaking with the dead?
Oh, like use your psionics against that. That one in particular case, I don't think so. I don't know if we've actually gone over whether or not you can use psionics against ghosts and stuff. Because I don't know if that can technically count as a mind or just an intelligence.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's hard because it's like you're an entity, right? You're a creature. You're a thing that can attack me and I can attack you.
But having a mind versus having an intelligence,
right?
Because the idea is like, remember, this isn't magic, so it's like you kind of need a brain. You kind of need because you're manipulating something, right? You're actually acting. So I would say that probably wouldn't be the same thing. So yeah, this is a unique one. This is one of those ones we're probably that we might deep dive later. But yeah, the suspended animation is probably more or less for base things. But maybe this would indicate that making contact with a dead mind, I don't know, you wouldn't be able to do anything with it because it's dead. And if you were able to make contact, the idea is that you would give it away by making contact. Because if you're... Yeah, this is one of those ones. It kind of breaks itself by saying that. Literally, they should never said probe power will detect life immediately. Because... if you're a psionicist using this, you're plain dead. Okay, so the psionicist remains for a number of weeks equal to the result of the power check or less. When they wishes to put themselves asleep, he first decides when he wants to wake up. Then he makes his power check. If the number of the roll is less than the time he hoped to be suspended, he'll awaken prematurely. Another willing character can also be suspended for the same PSP cost at the same time as a Psionicist, however. This has preparation time of 1 hour. The Psionicist remains aware of his surroundings and can wake up at any time. If you crit fail, the Psionicist falls unconscious and only violent slapping can revive him. So maybe the idea of the probe is for non-Psionicist characters because contact's just automatic guaranteed. Mm-hmm. So for a non-Psionicist who you suspend animation... Oh, my light went off. That would probably be where the probe would just be automatic because contact's kind of a
given.
Yeah, violent slapping. What's going on, Hungry Kobold? Yeah,
so
you would
much
need a violent
slapping.
slapping to revive them. But yeah, I would say that that's probably intended. The probe power will detect life immediately. I think that's intended for non-psionicists if you use this with somebody else, because they wouldn't have a natural defense for contact. So contact would just automatically happen. So it's almost null and void. Like contacting a dead mind is still instantaneous. It's kind of like you're activating the power, you're spending the PSP even if there's nothing there. So that's why it says they have to really be examining you. So you're going to try to do the contact and then try to probe. And if there's nothing there, then it's dead. But if you contact and then do probe and you're like, oh, nope, there's a little tiny sliver of, intelligence down there. So that's where I think that they're trying to differentiate because it does say that the Psionicist can bring someone with them.
Okay.
And that was it. That was the final science for psychometabolism. Next week, we'll be picking up with psychoportation. I know that one's... Oh, you're going to love this one. Banishment.
You said science. That was...
devotions.
So, okay.
Yeah, that was the last
So we
devotion.
did finish.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure.
We are fully done with that. So psychoportive is next.
Psychoportation. I'm very excited for that one.
Banishment, probability travel, summon planar creature, astral projection, dimension walk. Just a couple.
What?
Just a couple little things.
Not exactly where I thought he was going.
Dream travel, time shift. Time space anchor, one of my favorites. That's just to whet the appetite.
Whet the whistle.
That's psychoportation, and then we'll also finish up with telepathy, where we get things like dominate, eject, fate link, mind wipe, all of the attacks, all of the defenses. We also get, what else do we get? False sensory input. That's always a good one. And then we end it after this. We end it on Metapsionics. And these are some of the other...
I think, didn't you say we went over a lot of the Metapsionics?
We went over Metapsionics briefly when we chose to kind of go over the whole book. So this one will probably go super fast. So next week, we'll definitely finish because we really only have Psychoportation and Metapsionics. So we'll get over those two easy because we went through 2 chapters today. Okay. And then we've already gone over the Metapsionics. So we'll be able to quickly do that. And then we'll be prepared to make your character.
I'm very
and actually
excited.
show everybody what this looks like.
It's gonna be cool shit. It really is. Like, I have a lot of ideas. After today, I was really debating whether I want to go this shadow route, because you can do some cool stuff messing around in shadows and whatever else. There's not a lot of actual interaction you can do, but at the very least, espionage and being stealthy and stuff.
Well,
like,
yeah, it definitely all depends upon like the the DM's way that they run the campaign, what options that you can
Right.
do. But yeah, no, it's gonna be really fun, and that's why I think not only showing people what starting a character in High Point's going to look like, and just kind of giving people that like show of what I do when I bring new players on, but I think it'll also be kind of fun to do something that we don't normally do with character build, because we'll be able to like do a small like the initial character build, and then we'll just like jump it, right? We'll do a 3rd level, and then at 5th level, and then at 8th level, right? We'll just kind of show every couple level jumps what you would have done, what choices you would have made, and we'll see what kind of build actually comes
Evolves.
out of working with this.
yeah.
I'm all good, just vibing my stuff for tomorrow, because I got a D&D game. Nice.
Yeah,
Always good to
very
look forward
nice.
to a D&D game.
Same.
Saying Time Shift reminded me of a game by that name. Ooh, there's a name called Time Shift. Interesting. Yeah, Time Shift is a very interesting power. Yeah, I forget what Time Shift. Oh no, Time Shift. I know what that's. So I've mentioned this one on stream before when I've talked about time travel and time abilities. This is the one I told you about where you essentially like take yourself, because we talked about I think we were talking about I brought it up last time when we were talking about Cosmic, right? He was trying to talk about like, is there a power that would like take you away from the battlefield when something happens instantaneously, so you like don't get hit by the effects of it? So Time Shift actually does something similar, where essentially you remove yourself from battle for like a number of rounds. You basically go into the future, but you're taken out of battle. So you get to see everything unfolding and know what's happening, but it's like 3 rounds later, and then boom, you're back in battle. So you were literally removed from combat and initiative for like 3 rounds. It's kind of a cool concept.
Can you initiate powers during those rounds, even though you're not there?
I don't think so.
That would be cool. That would be
we'll
cool.
have to get into that. But
If
I
you're
don't think
watching
so.
stuff happen and you're like, oh, I'm gonna need this. Oh, I'm gonna need this. Oh,
Yeah.
and then you're already constant, and then you just put
I think
it
the
into
idea
effect.
is like it's more like you step out of time to watch the events unfold,
Yeah.
so you can better prepare what to do,
and that
then
makes
you
a lot
come
more
back.
sense.
Yeah.
It really does.
I think that's like the intent, but yeah, Time Shift is really cool. I think Time Space Anchor is definitely another one of my favorites too.
Very cool.
Especially when you're dealing with like godly, like
Lord, yep.
godly issues. Time Shift is, I think, 360 PlayStation game if I'm correct, but the game you can pause, rewind, and fast forward time. It's a shooter game. Interesting.
Why does that sound so familiar now that you've said that?
I don't. I'm trying to think of like back then too on the PlayStation having a game that you could like rewind time. I mean, Prince of Persia was like one of the ones I remember.
I've seen this. The
what's
guy's got like a little yellow Y helmet.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember that one. That's been a while.
Right?
That's been a while. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of games back then that did like the whole aspect of time and everything.
Thank you for reigniting that in my memory. I'm going to see if I can find that game now.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that took us almost to 4 hours, and we still haven't finished. This is for being one of the tiniest fucking books in the series.
Bro.
This thing has so much content. But again, I'm happy we did this. We may not do this in the future for like every class. Like these are pretty deep dives. I mean, this is episode 3. We're gonna go into an episode 4 just to finish the book. I'm really happy we did this deep dive. It is my favorite class, after all. But at the same time, this was definitely a trial run, a little test
For
to
sure.
see if we like to do story time. But it's definitely one of those things that I'm enjoying doing. It's nice taking a trip down memory lane, but knowing the effort and dedication it's taking to get through this book may not be
A little chunky.
yeah, may not be exactly what we do all the time. But I'm enjoying this. Oh, he says that you can get it on Steam.
Oh, okay. Bet. I'm going to check that mess out when I get home for sure.
All right. But yes, so we will pick up next Friday with Psychoportation, Chapter 6. We will finish off with Psychoportation, Telepathy, and Meta Psionics. Then Kage will be able to create his 2nd edition Psionic. Other than that, we have such a stack of homebrew review. So be here on Monday because
So
we
stoked for
have
that.
like 2-3 months worth of homebrew reviews stocked up for the next
Although this
weeks.
upcoming Monday will be a slightly different one.
Oh, hey, thanks for the follow, Hungry.
Welcome,
I really do appreciate you.
welcome.
Thank you so much. Yes, so this Monday will be a different homebrew review since Kage will not be here with me. So I will be doing a review of an item he submitted, kind of like just a side item, very small, not going to take very long, but it does represent, or at least it's very, very similar to an item I created in High Point. So I think what I'll do, have a shorter episode that day because I'm going to be having a very long weekend doing renovations around the house. So I'm probably not going to have a lot of energy. So I'll review the item that he submitted. I'll kind of talk about the item that's in High Point already and just some of the ways that I went about creating it. It'll probably be a smaller episode. And then, of course, after that, on Mondays, homebrew review as usual. We have fucking, I think, like 18 items right now, 13 items. I don't know. We have
At
teens.
least because it's not just Pokeniders. It's Drabs.
We have
it's
we have the
boards.
teens version of
Yes.
it. We have so many items. But yeah, so next Friday we will be back with the 4th and hopefully final installment of the Psionics Handbook, where we'll finish all the powers, and then after that we'll get the following Fridays we'll get into the character building and all of the other topics that we have coming up. And then, yeah, I'm going to be pretty busy this weekend, but I would like to do some more Hitman practice. So if you guys are interested in watching me make a fool of myself on Hitman, come join me for that one. But it has been a hell of a night. That's been almost 4 hours of streaming. I think we're going to call it here. We have a lot to think about with Psionics. Yeah.
We did good work.
So thank you guys so much for joining us. Hungry Kobold, I don't know how long you've been here. Sorry if you just showed up that we're cutting it short, but it's been 5 hours. We've talked about a lot tonight. If you have been around, thank you so much. I do appreciate the follow. Hoylepa, thank you so much. I remember seeing you in chat. I think, did Cosmic show up?
Cosmic was here out the
Cosmic,
gate.
thank you so much. Really do appreciate you being here. If you guys missed anything and you like what you saw and you wanted to catch anything from previous in the stream, you can actually check out this stream or any of our previous live streams on our YouTube channel. We have all of our VODs live always on YouTube, so I will pop that in the chat right now if you want to see anything you missed today or if you want to see a previous episode. If you want to get into the conversation, if you want to ask us questions about today's episode, if you want to give us ideas for future discussions, or if you're interested in homebrew review on our Monday episode and you want to submit something for us to review, you can do that through our Discord. So I'll go ahead and pop that link in the chat as well. If you're interested, go ahead and join our community. It'd be fantastic to have you. You can give us ideas, you can give us questions, you can give us homebrew, or you can just sit around and chat, share your homebrew with the community, and see what everybody thinks about it. We stream twice a week, so on Mondays we stream 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, where we do homebrew review or homebrew showcase, where we take stuff submitted by you, the viewers. We talk about it, give our knee-jerk reactions, talk about how we may apply it to our own realms, give our advice and suggestions on what we might do, and let you guys chew on that. And then on Friday, we 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, we do deeper discussions where we take our topics like the Psionic Handbook. We've talked about spell focuses. We've talked about pretty much everything, and we'll continue to talk about everything.
Yes.
But we'll take a topic, usually do a little history dive on it, see what it's done throughout all of the editions, and then we'll give our own ideas on how we think it can either be approved or how we like to implement it in our games. So if that sounds fun, join us every Monday and Friday. Otherwise, I just kind of pop up and do random game streams for some like behind the scenes, just casual chill out. So if you like that, you can join the Discord for the updates, or you can just check me out on Twitch. Otherwise, that's going to be us. We really do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I hope you had a great week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead of you. We'll be back on Monday, or I will be back on Monday. Kage will be back next Friday.
For sure.
Yeah, you guys have been great. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Deuces, my friends.